There we go. So, what's going on, people? We are here. Um, this is a dynamic duo show. Let me switch it around so we can be on the right side.
That's right.
Uh, so, because our fearless engineer is out somewhere jet setting and probably
All
nude
that.
sunbathing on the beach
Enjoying
right
life and
now, right?
celebrating.
Laid up with somebody child right now.
Don't you do it. Don't you?
We decided to just go live regularly tonight and just, talk about a couple things that's been on my mind and on Chaz's mind. So at the
And
bottom,
there's
you
so
see
much to
the
talk
Artist
about.
Exchange with me, your host, Nate. And then Chaz show normally comes on Big Exposed, right? Actually, well, it should have been going off by now.
Yeah,
But
it
you
would have
better
been done by
live.
now. But yes, tonight I missed an 8, 7 to 9. That's why I gotta thank you for reaching out to me. And it's like it's
Mhm,
so much to talk about. It's always a relief for me every week to get
mhm.
things off of my mind, get it off of my heart, and just
Right, right,
yeah.
right.
So this is a blessing to be here with you tonight. You better live. You better live for it. We are artists exchanging information tonight on the blend, okay?
So we're both if move over some, Chaz, like move over to your end. I think to
Oh,
your left.
to my left, to my
Yeah,
left, to my
yeah, to
left.
the left.
Is it
So
to the left
we're
or
both
the
on
right?
the Exposed Radio. Like I said, my show comes on Fridays at 7 p.m. and Chaz's show come on Thursdays at 7 p.m. On BigExposedRadio.com. If you're looking for a station, definitely hit us up at info@BigExposedRadio.com.
Yeah.
And just put in the message that you want to show, and we can get on that for you. Um, so tonight we got a couple topics. Which one did you want to do first?
Oh, I'm willing to start with any of them. It's definitely some content to discuss. It is so much going on and stuff. Just keep on going on.
Well,
So let's just get it
I'm gonna get
started.
this one. I'm gonna start with this one. So this is this gentleman and this lady. Uh, it's been rumored for years that they've been in a relationship. Well, quite some time. I'm not gonna say years. Quite sometimes
Oh,
they've
okay.
been in
Because I was going
a
to say,
work
wait a minute.
relationship.
That was taking me by surprise, like it was taking his wife. I was like, yes. I thought it was just something that
Well, that's what
just
they're.
happened.
Once people get a hold of your dirt, they just add 50 to 10, and just exaggerate it. But they are in the midst of a. The latest news is they're in the midst of investigation of their relationship, and more so the timing of their relationship. And unless they were having sex in the office or on the clock, I don't really think it's anybody's business. But a lot of these personalities have morality clauses in their contracts, which means if they do something to, say, tarnish the image of the network or the shows, then
Right.
they're liable to be suspended, or at most their contract will be voided. And in many cases, when they discontinue your contract, they still have to pay you some type of severance or whatever you agree to in your contract. But these two are on suspension right now in lieu of investigation on their relationship, timing of their relationship.
Right.
Um, and I just think their boss is just trying to let it blow over, and in the meantime, they have a cycle of people stepping in, which is one of the gentlemen. I didn't get his image because I didn't want to give him any more camera time, but he is also. People have been looking at him and speculating and wanting to date him and wanting to do it to him, all that. But this case right here is just really, I think it's another case of social media just doing too much,
Mm.
and it's
Well, that
causing
seemed to
the
be
powers to be.
exactly what was it, and what the head of that network was saying is that it was just so much drama when this
Hmm.
came out. Like that really was what led to them. I guess putting them on a suspension, taking them off the air because of the
Hmm.
drama.
Right.
Allegedly, yes, because how you said at the timing of it, is it because of her pushing of her divorce from her husband? Because his wife is saying, even though they were separated for
Hmm.
some months, so as to say, that it was kind of came as a surprise to her at all about this relationship. But then on top of this one, they when it came out in the drama of it, like you said, they just keep adding on top of it and on top of it. It's also being alleged that there's other relationships that he held with other, or
Right.
numerous of co-workers or whatever under the same network. But you're absolutely right. It's nobody business, it's their business. I
Hmm.
mean, it's unfortunate because stuff like this happen every day. I mean, far as people dealing with each other, whatever was in the job, but the
Right.
arena of their job and being on that work, I guess is gonna get out there or whatever. So, but they
But for,
supposed to be on suspension just to eliminate the drama.
but for the wife, like for anybody really, stay. It's not. He not sleeping with you. Is that the problem? Is that what our issues are with this? And for me, I think the biggest issue is whether they were doing it, inappropriately in their office or their dressing rooms or under the desk, whatever. But beyond that, it's their personal business. Now, people were snapping shots of them. I think they were allegedly on vacation a few months ago, and that's where the photos came from, and that's how it really surfaced to the public. Some people that are working with them, there's always a nosy person working with you
Mm,
that put your business out there, said that it wasn't a shock that they were doing it. People knew about it. But if they're two consenting adults, they're both going through a divorce. I believe his divorce is still in the works and hers is over. I think it's nobody's business. I was a little frustrated with the wife for coming out making a statement because why do you need to make a statement, miss? Why?
mm.
Like why? Other than because I think his is still in the
Yeah, because
court.
I guess on their part, the way that the statement, the wife was coming out is that yes, they were separated. But
Mhm.
allegedly they were supposed to be, I guess, trying to reconcile and come back together. So I guess this relationship was kind of supposed to be, like a slap in the face, and it just came like she wasn't aware of it, I guess, because of their, them wanting to
But we
reconcile or
always
whatever, even though
blame
they were separated.
Right, but we always blame the other party when stuff like this come up, and I don't get why. Like, so now he looks like the bad guy for allegedly cheating on his wife when he was
Mhm.
separated. They both were leaving their other significant other, and it just seemed like he's getting more of the flack for this. Of course, she will get flack because she's a white woman with a black man, but it seemed like he's getting
Come
more of
with
the
it.
flack for this.
Come
But
with
who's
it.
to
That
say the
part.
wife wasn't the problem, and that's why he's leaving her, or whatever the problem is, it's not our business. And we're talking about it, but it's just
Yeah.
another thing where the social media. It's one thing to have commentary on things, but people really be painting pictures of somebody
Yeah.
else's life that don't even know you alive.
And that's what
And
I'm
people,
saying. Just like how we were saying, it's like, not putting it to the aspect of saying that it's something so simple. But this
right?
again is something that does happen.
Mhm.
Marriages don't work. People leave their spouses and they go on to mess with other people. And in
Yeah.
real life, is their coworkers, is that people that are around, people who they've confided in or been around or spending their time with. But of course,
Mhm.
because they're in that certain limelight of being on TV, on that network, and being co-workers, and then it just has to be made out. I guess that's the point that you're trying to make, Nate, is that it was
Right.
something like just so scandalous, as if they were, they were hurting someone and they were messing around and having this affair, and it,
Right.
and marriages were destroyed. When, in all hindsight, we don't know exactly the backstory. It obviously it was already issues. Her, for one, they say that her divorce or her husband is like basically ready to
Yeah.
be finalized. Like that's
Hmm.
already been ordered. We know that take time, and especially with her status, we know that would take more time.
Right.
I guess when we get into the backside of that, prenuptials or whatever else, and them having a little bit wealth and everything for themselves. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, but yeah, social media, everybody they gonna get it, they gonna run with it,
That
and
was
they
my
gonna have
phone.
their,
Sorry.
and they gonna have their own narrative to it, and it's always switched like that because um,
Mhm.
anything that they gotta make it like that and put the spin on it because that makes it juicy, and just like you said, it gets us talking about it. It gives us this content, but in all hindsight, it's really not
That's serious.
that serious to be talking about. And then looking at it for as like these people are now essentially suspended, may not even be able to return or whatever because they are just going through everyday life,
I
not,
think, but they gonna
their
be
marriage
able to
is
come
working
back
out
from
and now
this.
they in a relationship with somebody else. Like,
They gonna come back from it. Somebody's gonna give them a reality show or a podcast together, or and it probably is a very harmless relationship. Not to say that they're not doing anything because they're
right,
in a relationship, but just I just don't like spinning the narrative of it all. But this is one of the lighter stories of today. But just and I do podcasts and I try my best not to talk about stuff like this. But it's
right.
just the stories. Social media get a handle with something, and they choose what color underwear you got on and speculate what you ate for breakfast. Like this, the whole gambit just be made up. They
That's
just be
why
creating narratives.
you ain't never lie. Even the point of them was making the point to saying about other or various relationships that he had within
Mhm,
this. And I was like, okay, of course that would be the spin on it, or what does this have to do with that now, or had to make him look
mhm,
worse in some way than how she's looking. That was another thing for me, just like how you said, of course, she's going to get a slack, her being a white woman, him being a black man. I said,
mhm,
okay, even how they are communicating that and putting that out there, like, oh, she was close to her divorce, but this black man, he's had other various relationships and he was separated from his wife, but they supposed to have been working on it. And so this comes as a surprise to the
right.
to the wife. It's still out there in some way to make him look in this whole situation, even though like him kind of worse
Right.
in some way than how she is looking. Like I'm even seeing how they're communicating that to do that. And I'm just like, wow.
But people will just make up stories just out of the blue, and that just be the thing that get me with some of these commentaries or podcasts. Like they just be making up stuff just to say. But I'm gonna get that one off because I just wanted to just to give an update on that one. I was gonna report these things on the show next week, but I just
Right,
like let me just get this because it's not even gonna be a part of the news
right.
cycle
Well, guess
after
what? Something else that happened, and
right.
it's something else to talk about. But right, it's amazing. It's the
So
same
then
stuff, Nate. It's the same stuff. And I guess people
wait,
got
wait,
to
no,
put
wait,
their
wait,
little spin on it to make it more interesting. But at this point, all of those things are like blah, blah, blah. Like,
wait.
okay,
Right.
someone had a
So
relationship with their job. Okay, so they
so
got to do
the
that.
the next story is Mr. Will Smith.
Mm.
Um, did you see the movie yet?
No, I
No.
have not.
So you
I
can
have not.
download the Apple TV app, and you get a depend. I think if you go to their website or their Instagram page, if you click on the link, you can get 7 days. Or if you go to their Facebook page, it's a 14-day trial. Just go get the trial, girl, and watch the movie.
And then cancel the trial.
Right, very cool. But
You still to remember to
the
cancel
movie
it.
was pretty good. Um, I have to say it. He kept reporting that it's not going to be like another slave movie, and it's not. And surprisingly, and I'm not one of them people that get concerned about stuff like that. But I
Mhm.
definitely, being an educator, I like when stories come out because you have children that don't know how to read right now, and that's high school age children
Right.
as well. So them learning anything new about their history is definitely necessary. And this one is actually based off of an actual person. His name was Peter. He was referred to as Whipped Peter. And his
Mhm.
image, we've all seen this image thousands of times, thousands upon thousands of times. Typically, anything talking about slavery or depicting Black history, this is one of the photos that you probably have seen and didn't even realize what you were looking at. Well, this man was an actual slave. There was a lot of information that was not clear about him. His age was not really known. His name was Peter, but that's probably a name that was given to him. Um, and people really don't recognize him because even in this photo, you're not seeing his face. So it
Right.
wasn't much information that was shown. It was just an image that is circulated throughout time, and
Right.
you never really knew it. This was actually a photo that was depicted in the movie. Towards the end of the movie, you see how this photo came to be. You see why it came to be. And he basically was a man who was, always in slavery. He had a really tumultuous life. I believe his family, his he was from Haiti. So he was brought over to the United States, and it just tells a really tragic story of the
Mhm.
end of, well, the
I'm
the
sure.
the movie only depicts a portion of his life. It doesn't really give you a whole span. It tells the story of how he escaped from slavery.
Mm.
So it's not really showing you the slave aspect of it, other than him escaping from slavery and finding his freedom in the Revolutionary War. And it
Mm.
was this. It was a really good movie. Will Smith better get nominated at least for this film.
Oh, so he did his thing.
He did this. I mean, Will Smith is pretty good.
Mhm.
My
Okay.
only
Because
complaints.
I'm really surprised. Like I'm glad that you brought it to my attention. I have heard about it, but
Mhm.
I'm really surprised that I haven't heard as much. I guess, far as like um
Right.
what they call it, the advertisement or really putting it out there about this movie. It's kind of been,
Well, I
I
think
haven't heard about it.
he had to be a little subtle about it. It's on Apple TV. I believe it's in limited theaters, and that's only so
Okay.
he can get nominated or get recognized. Because this is the cutoff time of nominations for like the Oscars and
Okay.
those Academy Awards and such. But he won an award. He won an Academy Award this year. He won an Oscar award as well. But I think he's really gonna get nominated for this film. But I just hope what happened to Nate Parker. Remember Nate Parker did Birth of a Nation, and there was this
Yeah.
scandal that just happenly came up around the same time that the movie came out, and it really prevented a lot of people from seeing the film.
Yeah.
It was it
Because
was bad timing, and
it
I hope this doesn't happen to Will Smith.
and sometimes, with these type of movies, and that's when you making a point that it's not like that typical movie that's
Right.
showing them actually, I guess, making it out. A lot of
Mhm.
times when we have that narrative being depicted in these movies that are, slavery movies or telling about that part,
Right.
it's always something. Something always comes out to kind of try to, I guess, deflect people's interest in wanting to see that part of it. They
Right.
always want you to see the part of it, of course, that we've heard about that is SNL, but they don't want you to
Right.
see that these men made it through or even in the midst of that,
And
still fought for their freedom or,
right. I co-host another show called Binge Worthy Podcast, and we were talking about that. So there were, I want to say, millions of people in slavery.
yes,
And that's millions of stories to be able to tell. So you're always going to get a new narrative. There are a lot of slave narratives. There were a lot of interviews done with people who were fresh out of slavery, beyond the Harriet Tubmans and the Frederick Douglass. and Sojourner Truth. There were plenty of people beyond those three people that we know of, like Whipped Peter, and many others like him who has stories, and most of the stories that we have are the stories of the people who were connected to white history or were made it out of slavery.
Yes. And a
And
lot
this
of
is one
times,
of the stories that
I guess
happened.
it's hard when you get really into the depths of it.
Hmm.
I guess they want to give you the outline. Of course, we know what it was. We know it was the weapons. We know what slavery
Right.
consisted of. But when you want to get into the depths of it and really, get and telling these people's stories, and like how you say, there's so many stories, there's so much.
Yeah.
That's when, people kind of, I ain't gonna- for lack of words, shy off from really wanting to understand what the reality of this was. Like
But
how
then
you
for
said,
that
like these are
reason,
people going through this, and
right, but for that
they,
reason, it's going to be tons of accounts. It's going to be people who helped slaves out that has a story to tell. The
yeah,
people who were there with them who wrote in their journals or, helped to tell the story. It's always a different perspective to tell you when you have that many people in slavery. And I hate when anybody says it. They're tired of hearing about it. But I hate when it's somebody like us because there are so many other cultures that have made it a part of their culture to keep their history alive, especially things like this with, like, say, the Holocaust or you know the Asians and Japanese individuals always telling their stories of sorrow, but it's when we tell ours, it's almost so much shame associated with
yeah,
it that we
we still
don't
want to
even.
forget it.
Right, this
Like
is an actual human being that's being
mhm,
depicted. So, for that reason alone, it's valuable and is worthy of its story being shared. His story being shared, his family's story. He had a wife and kids who were
yeah,
also in slavery, who he was stolen away from, and he managed to find his story. Will Smith kept defining this movie as a love story and how he made his way back to his family. And this story takes place at the end of slavery, and we all know. The celebration that we celebrate Juneteenth also depicted that up into maybe what this is 2022, maybe almost like 80 years ago, 80, like in the 60s, I would say, people were still mentally in slavery because there were some places that never really evolved from
mm,
slavery.
talk
Um,
about it.
right. So there were a lot of things that need to be said. And I think with every movie you get another glimpse of what history was. This movie really talks about the war aspect of it and how
Okay.
slaves were a part of that freedom movement. Well, alleged freedom movement. But it was a really good film. I really suggest people to see it. If you don't got that movie theater money, go to Apple TV.
I'm gonna do what you said. I'm gonna.
It's a free subscription
But
and
hold
watch the
on,
movie.
you need an Apple product to do that. I'll hit the bar
Mhm.
someone's.
You know,
Okay,
Apple TV is another like streaming site now. You
right. But
don't
yes,
have to have
Nate.
Apple.
Well, guess what? I gotta take up that suggestion to go ahead and get the app a little bit for free so I can watch it. Because just
Right.
like you said, I think it's real important that we embrace not just that an atrocity that happened to us in slavery, but just
Hmm.
understanding that right. It's individuals, there's so many stories. And even though his individual story, it
Right.
really impacted, all that's our ancestors. That's what happened to them,
And
impacted all our lives. It was
right.
what, and you're right. It's crazy how, society wants us to forget that. Like that's what it was, or even want us to look
Hmm.
at what happened to our people is just one thing on one across the board. Like, okay, we know they were separated from their children, they were with or whatever else like that, but it's never individualized. And I guess people don't really
Right.
understand that impact or how you know what I mean? These was families, ripped
And it
apart
really.
individuals living
Right.
in, like, it's crazy to me. Oh yeah. They want us to forget it
Right.
when it comes to that. And then when the stories are being told, they just want us it to be that basic same old story, whatever. They don't want to never see any victory or any triumph from that occurrence and
But a
not even
lot of that is
understand that
us.
us as a people talking about it and really realizing
Hmm.
what that consists of. My God.
Right.
That should give us all a drop, all the passion. That's part of
Right.
knowing who we are and what we come from and being
But
able to
many of
embrace
us are
what our
trying to be
ancestors
like them.
whispered.
Many of us are trying to be more like them. So telling our stories is attached to shame and
Yes.
ridicule. So we don't want to define ourselves in that way. And that for me that is heartbreaking because I'm a teacher and I hear it all the time. I hear it too much. You know, that's not, that's so far ago. And I tell people like, we're not that far removed from it.
Right.
We're not that far removed from it. But the last thing I wanted to say about this one, please don't treat this like Birth of a Nation, where another story doesn't get seen. Because Birth of a Nation, a lot of people did not see it because that controversy came out with Nate Parker. And we have to, as Black people, forget any other culture. As Black people, we have to learn how to forgive and move forward. We have
Mm.
forgiven people and let things go much heavier than Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
And that's what I'm saying. Isn't that crazy though? That when something is done to us from another, since we, talking
Mhm,
about that standpoint on slavery and everything, is that when things are done to us by another race, how how
mhm,
ironic is that they want us to forget it like so
right.
fast, but when it's something that happens, to one of our people amongst us, or something that's like, oh no,
Mhm.
they want us to keep on harboring that person forever, and you know what I mean? And
And
like you said, can never move
many
past
of you all are
it.
sitting there. Many of you all are sleeping next to somebody who slapped the shit out you on a regular basis, and you put all that anger and frustration
But
into somebody you don't even know. And I'm not taking
right,
away from the
not
severity of what happened, but it's time to let go and time to
look,
move on from it.
and it was more behind that split too. You know what I mean?
It
Because right,
was.
it was doing that show. That was the African American man produced that whole show. The
Hmm.
award, that they were supposed to get from that other movie. So a lot of things because of what Will did that day was slated, but it is forgivable. You know what I
It
mean?
is.
I guess that's the main point that we shouldn't be held. Okay, he smacked. It happened. You know what I mean? And when we're talking about it in the mental health aspect or something else, we want to talk about how things happen. It happened. Let it
It
go.
happened. Let
Like
it
putting
go.
that type of pressure on somebody for that thing, but looking
Yeah.
at situations like slavery, it amongst ourselves, we're saying forget that. But it's stuff like this that we want to hold on to and
Yeah. Yeah.
possibly, don't go see the movie, don't support it because
Right.
we're still mad that right he
Let
smacked
it
Chris Rock.
go. Let it go. Um, let Chris Rock deal with that. Like let Will Smith deal with that, and just stay out of it because we add so much to stuff. You would have thought he went up there and raped that man. That's
If
what
it's
it felt like.
negative,
And I'm not taking away from violence, and I'm not taking away from stupidity, or just not knowing how to filter your anger or control yourself in a moment.
no,
All that needs to be dealt with, but not by you.
right. It
That's
was
not
a
your
mistake.
responsibility in this manner.
It was a mistake, and from after it happened, I definitely see that the remorse and everything that Will Smith shown, but it was a lot. We seen it around the world. Him just smack Chris Rock, but I'm
Hmm.
sure we know. It was a lot going on. It was a lot to consist of, and like I said, it wasn't just the slap. A lot of people felt some type of way of just of the essence of that night and that whole show being produced for the first time ever by
Hmm.
African American, man,
But that
as
should make
well
you
as
more.
the
That should make
awards.
you.
They were feeling like,
But
a
that should
lot
make you
of that
more
stuff.
angry than anything. Out of
Yeah.
the decades that award show has been going on, this
Uh,
is the first time it's being produced and directed by a Black person.
right,
It's sad, and even the amount of Black hosts that it's had, and the amount of Black recipients of awards, the history of how they treated Black people who couldn't even come to the actual award show. Hattie McDaniel had to sit by the kitchen all the way in the back and won the first Black person to win an Academy Award. Like it just Oscar. I'm sorry, but it just
right.
really is detrimental to us as we focus on things that we should address this, it should have brought about
Right.
conversation,
And you
but
know what?
not
It
in a
just
way
was
where
funny
we're
to me how
demeaning
that whole
somebody.
network and how that show went about it too. Like they
Right.
really put that negative image out there. Like in my opinion, it
Mhm.
wasn't really much effort on trying to clean it up how we know that they do. You know what
Right.
I mean?
They
Saying
should
that
the
it's like
moment the moment they saw him walking on that stage, that
it
should
should
have
have
been
been
saying, "This
cut.
was not planned by us. We don't know what's about to happen." The moment he slapped him, it should have cut to commercial
Cut
break.
off.
It should
And
have cut
it
to
shouldn't have,
commercial
and
break.
right. For it
And
even to get
you
out
notice
there
how
like
they
that.
kept
And they
playing it.
kept running it. They kept
Hmm.
running it. You know, I think if it would have happened, of course, to some
Hmm.
other people's, you wouldn't have seen that clip in rotation like that. Or whatever
And
how they claim.
right, right. So going from bad to worse, and speaking about mental health,
Yeah.
um, in the last day or so, we've been hearing a lot of information about this young man, um, and it's very unfortunate. But I'm tired of having to say black men have feelings too, and
Mm.
having to create that space. I just finished working on a project for a whole year where this was a topic matter that many of the men brought up. So much so that I am having to now create a space moving forward where men can have that safe space to be able to have these types of conversations. But this young man, we know him from being on Dancing with the Stars. I believe he had a short stint on Dancing with the Stars. He also was well known and most known for being the DJ on the Ellen Show.
Yes,
And
I
Ellen
first
brought
saw
him
one of
on.
them So Do You
Hmm.
Think You Can Dance? That
Hmm.
TV competition, that dance competition. So
Right,
that's when I originally. So when I seen him come up to have that connection to be on the Ellen DeGeneres show as a DJ, I kind of was like,
right,
oh well, okay, he's a DJ too. And then I also seen that he was on other several shows even before So You
right.
Think You Can Dance. Other
He's a choreographer and a
right.
trained dancer. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what brought him to the Ellen Show. That's what brought him to all of us and seeing us because we definitely all were watching the Ellen Show at some point. Um, and it's just really sad. And just seeing the relationship between the two of them and some of the posts that she's been posting on her
Yeah.
social media in the last couple of
Heartbroken.
days. And then he has a family. He has a wife and three kids. These are his kids right here.
Praise out to
His
them.
wife on the right side of him, and then his oldest child. I think she's 14. I think the smaller one is 5, and then the other one is 8. So to know that he's leaving behind a family is very sad. So my condolences, first of all, goes out to him. But this was something that was really out of the blue. Many people did not see it coming. They were playing his last TikTok. He was really busy on TikTok. You often see TikToks of him and his wife dancing. They both were. She was on. You
This
think?
show as well.
Yeah,
She was
she
a
was on.
contestant as well
Right,
on So Do You Think You Can Dance? So I
right,
think that's where they, met
right.
and began their relationship or
Hmm.
whatever. But that's so sad, right?
Yeah.
Because their oldest daughter, like how you say, was 14, so that was
Mhm.
a time ago. So yeah,
But it's unfortunate, and it brings up the question because we've laughed Kanye out of billions. We ridiculed him, and not to say it's our fault because he had a hand in it, but at the same time, when we see illness in front of us or somebody dealing with mental struggles, our first thing to do is turn away from it. And
yeah.
then I always say black
Or
people are the
make a joke
only
of it.
race of
Or
people,
make a
right?
joke of it.
Make
We
a joke
don't
of it.
we don't we don't if at all sympathize with it because a lot of us can relate
Hmm.
whether being diagnosed or not. I
Hmm.
always acknowledge that I had some mental health struggles, of my own, even without being diagnosed or anything else like that, but at least being able to
Hmm.
empathize, even
Yeah.
in that we never be able to have that emotion until it's a tragedy like this. Usually, in our culture, when we recognize it, it's always made as a joke or we just deem them, oh, they crazy.
Mm-hmm.
or whatever else
But
like
we
that.
get
And when things like
we
this
get
happen, it's
mad
like,
at them. We get
yeah,
mad at people for struggling with
the the
mental illness
Tyrese
or
when he
having
came on
struggles.
crying about his daughter. I just can remember certain
Mm-hmm.
things. When he came on crying about his daughter, I remember they ridiculed him,
Mm-hmm.
saying
Mm-hmm.
his raw emotion. Anytime when a black man or people
Mm.
put in that space to show, what they are going through mentally, it's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad
It's
how we respond to that.
heartbreaking. 'Cause even with this story, it's again all the speculations start coming up. So there are allegations out there that he shot himself to death, but it
Yeah,
is being ruled as suicide,
yeah,
and it is really it's heartbreaking. I've had a suicide in my family, and knowing who my cousin was, he was an older cousin, knowing who he was, knowing the life he had to lead, he always had an air of sadness about himself. And it just, they found him in his apartment and he had shot himself to death. And just knowing, that something like that, I've from all my life I've known that happened when I was much younger, and just knowing that, you know, could
mhm.
not have a open casket because that's how they found him. So I'm just imagining what your family and friends, and the first thing to do is get angry at the person. Again, we get angry at people for
Yeah,
their mental struggles, even if it overtakes them. We angry at them.
yeah,
When our first instinct should be compassion, like what
yeah,
could I have done? It's this young man on Instagram. He really smart guy, got long locks. He always, being intellectual with his social media, and all his post was this young man. Twitch had liked him both on, I think, TikTok and on Instagram, and he had the up his background showing how he had followed him, but you don't see where he had followed him back. And he kept making like it about him, like what could I had done, or what did I say to make him want to follow me, like totally disregarding the fact that this man may have been seeking inspiration, maybe he's
mhm,
seeking something to make him feel better. Because depression doesn't have anything to do with your finances or your family structure. It just sometimes it takes hold of you, and it may be stuff that you never dealt
yeah,
with, and you've been trying to hide and deny and live through. And now, I know he had gotten to a successful space. Most people knew his name. He probably got so much based off him just being on the Ellen Show alone. But again, being showing your happiness doesn't mean you're happy on the inside, and we have to do better with checking in. We have gotten to a space where I don't want no negative vibes around me, no low
mhm,
vibrations around me, but that around me is also your family and your loved ones,
yeah,
and you deal with it in terms of helping them how you can, but don't
mhm,
avoid them. Don't, cut off communication. Don't get mad at them. I always say we the only race of people that get mad at each other for
right,
having struggle or going
right.
through things. The
No,
only race of people that I know.
right. And it seems like we only can sympathize and empathize when it hits the fan.
Hmm.
When it's so sad, it's like we don't embrace each other, or even the a situation where someone may be sick. I've heard
Right,
things like that, and people stop visiting or stop going to the hospital. Oh, I don't want to see them like that.
right. Making it
But not
about
even
you. Making it about
understanding,
you.
you may not even be able to see them. Just like you said, no negative vibes, no negative energy around me.
Mhm.
But the negatives are going to happen.
And it's normally something like we normally look at the behavior, like Kanye or
Yeah,
R. Kelly. We look at the behavior and we judge the behavior, not understanding the behavior is a symptom of
yeah.
whatever else has
Cause
happened
and
or
effect.
did not. Right? It's a
Cause and
result
effect.
of something,
We
and
just looking at it
maybe
as
you
for
may
what
be
it
that
is,
something.
or they're reacting like this. Like how people say we always look at the reaction, but we never consider the effects, the
Right.
transactions.
Yep.
basically the transactions within their
Hmm.
life that have basically
Yeah.
brought them to this point, and in a lot of situations push them to this
Hmm.
point, kind of like really being on the edge. Like when we
Yep.
talk about mental health and things that's going on, you think we will understand by now, and especially when we talk about something that's sensitive as suicide, is that
Hmm.
that look rarely is ever it's on somebody's face. You just never know. Um, when we've talked about, or people talk about people committing suicide before, like that's always the case. Is essentially
Hmm.
people who appear very happy, that
Yep.
is smiling, whatever. And I think a lot of it comes from Nate. What you were saying is that we can't share our true selves without
Hmm.
being criticized. And if I'm just so sad, and then like my condolences go to the family, because I wish that he was comfortable with letting someone know
I'm
whatever
gonna
he
tell
was
you.
going through or whatever. And not saying that he wasn't, but
Mhm.
typically when stuff like that happened, obviously it was something inside that he couldn't share. Like how you said, there wasn't no helpful, no inspiration, or he couldn't pull from there because everyone see him being on the Ellen show, having this successful career, having his money, because that's a lot of times what people tie it to. Oh, money
Mhm.
can't buy you happiness. But what was going on with him was way more than had to deal with money
Yeah,
or
yeah.
anything else like that. But a lot of people just tend to look at it that way. Like,
But it takes me back to a moment, and I've had bouts of what I can now call depression after seeing a therapist. And I remember one time I went to church, and after church we had, you have meetings after church, and the pastor, she said, somebody in here needs to say something, and if it's on your heart, say it. And
mm,
I was speaking about a situation I was in. I was renting out the home that I was living in. I had rooms upstairs. I was renting them out, and it was just a bad energy in the house. And I was struggling, and I was just going through. And I remember after saying it, after the meeting was over, all that, people would come up to me with some encouraging words, and the first thing they'll say is, "I ain't got no money to give you." And I was like, that should not be the first thing that come out your mind, out your mouth.
right. And it
Like, am
wasn't
I
even about
okay?
the
How am I
money.
feeling? Like, am I and that's what I wanted to receive. So when I find somebody in this situation, and I don't know how to deal with emotion, especially like crying, or I don't know how to deal with that. So
Mm,
even when I'm in that moment with someone who's feeling that, I listen because I don't always know the right thing to say. And I try to let God just guide my tongue in that moment. That's like my
mm,
quiet prayer in those moments. But
right,
I never make it about me.
right.
I try to never make it about me. I'll say that. But I just see how we deal with each other when we're going through things. And this man, like they pulled up his last TikTok. He was always laughing, always smiling. And a friend of mine was like, "Yeah, but that smile didn't seem like it was reaching his eyes." And it was like
Mm,
going back and looking at it. It was just telling. Like, even if you don't know, because some of us are really good, especially men, black men, are really good at just letting a behavior mask whatever we're going through.
right.
And even if there's no signs of him going through, or you don't know, we need to start treating each other like asking, "You doing good? You all right? You
Yeah.
fine?"
How
I
you
like,
feeling? And being okay with saying, no, I'm not good. And
yeah,
being able to
yes.
embrace that and console a person, whatever, because you
Hmm.
rarely hear someone can be honest and say that to you.
Hmm.
It comes to a shop, or me, like how I be saying it, like, you go through things, but then a lot of times you don't want to burden other people, or
Right.
people usually see you as strong or able to get through something. So you don't want to come off,
Right.
as vulnerable, or as if you're having a problem with people, because people kind of look at you like, what? Well, what's going on? Or not really understanding. And that's why a lot of times when I'm going through stuff and on social media, I share it. Not a lot of times, not
Hmm.
for people to be in my
But for
business,
yourself.
but just
Hmm.
to make that point, the one, get it up off of me,
Right.
to be real in the moment and what I'm going through. But then also I understand that can inspire someone else, because someone will look at you and
Right.
see how you just functioning in life and smiling and still trying to get through, and be like, wow, she go through
Mhm.
things that I go through, or I would never think that, or
Right.
whatever else is the case. But my point
Right.
was saying we rarely know how to respond to somebody. How you doing? You know, somebody good. How you been? You rarely hear someone say not good, not okay. You know, when a lot of times that is the reality of it, or a lot of it, but it you rarely hear someone responding that way. And there's
And
been a lot of times that I have
right.
not been okay
Mm-hmm.
myself, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
just accustomed and I'm programmed to respond and oh, I'm good, or have needed
Right.
some help, or a certain part of, you know, some inspiration or some
Mm-hmm.
encouragement. But I don't
It's not
know. You go
there.
on somewhere like how you said positive energy, and you like, oh, I ain't gonna bring that out, or I don't
Mm-hmm.
wanna bring that or whatever. But
Yeah.
essentially that's what friends are for.
But we don't know that we don't know what them terms mean anymore. Like without even putting you out there, there were times when you was going through online and you was just expressing it. And sometimes if you don't have anything positive to say, just agree with them because many of us can agree with it. And we ridicule as a community, we often ridicule people for putting their personal business on social media. But
Yeah.
had they had real loved ones and family and friends to be able to come to, they wouldn't need a social media platform with a bunch of strangers
Mhm.
telling their business. They wouldn't need that. They wouldn't need that outlet. But
And
because we are
sometimes,
where we are, that's what people choose to do. That's how they get
right?
out things when they're at home going through and their family not answering the phone for them no more. Or their friends are ignoring their phone calls. Like, that's why people do it.
Or me expressing that to a person, you know what I mean? Sometimes
Hmm.
you feel like you be judged for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, how many times now we don't find out what people that we love or people that are in our life what are going through before it is on social media?
And what did they say when this happened? Why he ain't just call me? Did you make yourself available?
Right.
You know that thing where you may be on the phone with
People don't
somebody and
answer.
they
Or even
spilling their
if you
heart
always
out
are
to
going to
you.
always, sometimes, you know, for me, it used to
Hmm.
always feel like I'm gonna get the same response. You know what I mean? How are you saying
Hmm.
people some way indirectly blame you, or instead of showing that empathy or sympathy or how you feeling. So, and getting that same response, as far as like an agreed and how you doing good, it's kind of like when you are in that vulnerable space to try to share with someone that for some confidant, being a confidant of someone, you typically get that same response. Oh, it's gonna be okay.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
that's right. It's you gonna be good. Oh, you strong. You get through those things, girl. Don't I know? Or a person
Yeah.
immediately, like how you said, make it about them, or say something. Oh yeah, I just lost. Yeah, I know how that is. I just lost. So it kind of like downplays the dumb down like what you going through, and you be like,
Hmm.
oh, what I'm going through. Sometimes you feel like that. Oh, it's not. It's better what they're going through, or maybe I shouldn't. It's not that serious. When oh, actually it is.
But those situations where you may be being a shoulder for somebody, and you
Mhm.
like, okay, they share with me, so a door has been opened up, and the moment you go to pour out yourself, girl, I don't feel like hearing that, or I gotta go, and you like,
Mhm.
bitch, I just sit here and listen
Tell me
to
about
your
it.
baby daddy drama and how you couldn't afford that purse or those shoes
Yeah,
or
talk
that
about
that
it.
dude that's been doing you wrong and we having the same and I decide one time to open up to you and I
Talk
say
about it.
something in
Even
those
if it's the
moments.
same thing, even if it's the same thing, we shun people for that. Even if, it's something that they continuously go through, like how you brung
Yeah.
up. If it's something they continuously go through with
But you there
somebody in a
listening.
relationship, you might have a friend that's been with this person or dealing with this person, and to it's kind of like keep coming around. And now
Hmm.
that friend's trying to confide in you, but they're reluctant to do that because they probably told you the situation so many times. They know what your response going to be. They know what you're thinking about them. Girl, you dumb. Boy, you dumb, or whatever. They really
Hmm.
not looking at the hindsight or the inside of it,
Of
or
how
how
you
it's really
feeling.
affecting you,
Right.
or
They
why you even
totally
dealing
disregard
with
how
it,
you
or
feel.
whatever.
And we do that thing. I remember I'm a person that speak to. I used to be like that, and I'm trying to get back to that. But I used to speak to everybody, and I remember one of my friends was like, "You better stop asking people," because I'm one of those people that people say stuff to me on a bus stop or on a train and they tell me deep personal secrets. And my friend was like, I kept saying, I was like, well, I wonder why people do that. He said, because you
Right.
open yourself up. When you ask somebody how they doing, you just open the door for somebody to tell you. Stop asking people stuff like that. And I was like, but what if it's somebody who don't have that outlet or don't have that person in their life that will respond to that? That the reason we strangers tell you their business is because they don't have nobody in their life that's willing to listen to those things,
Right.
and they haven't attached. Maybe I need to go see a therapist because some
Right.
of us have been trained that that's a bad thing. That's when you crazy when you go see
Right.
that. But we got
Right.
to be more. We got to normalize just having conversations with people anymore. We don't want to. We don't want. It's offensive for you to call somebody's phone without letting them know first. So we spend our life on text
Right.
messages. Now that's a special thing. You can't text me
Mm.
if I don't give you permission to. Like we have cut off so much communication with each other that
Mm.
when
It's
somebody's
bringing
going through
tears to
something,
my eyes. It's
mm,
bringing tears to my eyes because that is
it's
so very
real.
true. That is
It's
so very
real.
true. We tell people to talk to us and everything else like that, and I'm here, whatever. But then we kind of dissect what we really want to talk about. And like how you said, oh, we look at it as anything someone is going through is negative energy.
Right.
And
Like if
sometimes it's
I'm
not
struggling
that,
right
it's
now,
just that it's
it's
negative to
because
go
you
to
got
have.
that negative energy, that low vibration on you. I
Yeah.
just I hate us sometimes, and I hate saying that word, but I hate us sometimes because
Okay.
we neglect each other to the point of when something happens to them or someone we love, like this man out of
Yeah.
the blue, like you would have thought he was the happiest dude in the world. And
Yeah.
how did something like this happen to somebody like that? That means the person who not smiling at you better contact them. You better reach out to them. Because if they can't even smile their way through it,
Right.
baby,
And that
that's
brings me back to one of my favorite, was it Robert Williams?
hmm hmm the
It brings me
comedian.
back
Mhm.
him and kind of how, a lot of people are depicting and switch to being that same way, carefree, loving to make people laugh and
Mhm.
always smiling and trying to bring joy to people or whatever else like that. And
Mhm.
and for the most part too, I'm always trying to be that way. You know what I mean? Too,
Right.
because when you are a person, when you know that you go through stuff and you know how it makes you feel, I mean, it's always a plus to have that type of energy and bring that around people or whatever else like that. But we do have to get more understanding on, it being okay and embracing that people are not going to be okay all the time. And
Mhm.
even the people who you think are okay, and sometimes it is okay to ask and say, how you doing, and really be open to listening
Right.
and and not looking for that same response of a person to say, "Oh, I'm good,"
And I
or
learned a long time ago that depression is a good, healthy thing. It's just when our bodies stay in it over an extended period of time. And that's different for each person. But
Mhm.
it is our body's natural reaction to get out whatever's like in us that's not
Mhm.
good. It's our body's natural defense. And
whatever
we
is
do that
stressing you,
physically and we do it
whatever is
mentally.
stressing you, when it runs deep and it gets deep into your core, that's what they say. That's what it turns into, that depression.
That's all
You know what I
depression
mean?
is. It's your body's
On top
coping
of
mechanism.
everything. And
But
sometimes, it's situations of things that's not necessarily happening in your life, but just like, things like this that's happening to someone that I know of in my lifetime that affects you. That
yeah,
affects you. It's still, even though, I didn't know him personally or anything else like that, it's things like this that sadden you, and just things that keep happening endlessly in day to day life. And we all strong for it. We all better for going
right.
through things. But at
hmm
the same time, we have to really understand that it is okay not to be okay. And people are going to
Now,
go through some things.
on social media today, Little Romeo, that's Master P's son,
Yes.
he made a statement, and everybody's alluding to he was speaking about his father, and he said it's crazy. I just saw a man, post about Twitch, uh, but denies and overlooks what's happening in his own family. And I said that in a space because sometimes I know you. So I know you are out. Chaz is an outspoken individual. Nate, he's an outspoken individual. So when things happen to somebody close to you, like, oh, they gonna get through it. But when they don't, or when they hit rock bottom, like it shocks us.
Mm-hmm.
Because that guilt in us says, damn, it was a moment where he was asking to talk and I was kind of busy,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had that recently. I'm going through that, when you at the end of a decade of your life and you going into the next decade, and you're sitting there, and life is you analyzing everything. You're
I had my phone.
analyzing.
Look, you got me. Look, you got me in here. It's like you was preaching. Look, I hit the
That's
whisper. I did
that's
not.
where I'm at. I'll
What's that
be
on the answer? They did knock the phone, honey.
right. I'll be 40 in May. So of course, right now I'm going through all of these
Oh.
things because people don't even know that I'm 39, let alone
Mm-hmm.
about to be 40. So now I'm going over my life and my finances and my health, and realize I'm not the best in any of those areas.
Mm.
So, and I'm over analyzing things, and I'm trying to reach out to certain friends to have conversations, and they not available. Now I don't feel suicidal, but that stress on your back, it could kill you. I have a mom who is just getting over and probably just starting to manage having a stroke over 9 years ago. And what I saw her doing, just working, 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 and not doing anything outside of getting her nails done. And I used to wonder why that was so important for her, because that was a moment to do something for herself. And I'm trying to find those moments. And even in all my mistakes, just trying to figure it out. But I put it is it's hard to blame the individual, but it's a community issue, because we have put more value in obtaining stuff and power and influence and likes and shares than we do with just simply being compassionate for each
Mm.
other. Like it's a sad thing. Like I'm in my mind, I'm wondering how many people in his life did he attempt to have a conversation with,
Mm.
or how many people walked away from a conversation with him? Like, I wonder if he good. He all right. That boy always happy. He gonna be good. And
Yeah.
didn't allow themselves to see the signs or ignore the signs. Not blaming anybody, but
Right. Because you don't know what it looks
right,
like.
but how many times have we rushed a person off the phone? Because, girl, I do not feel like hearing that.
Mm.
I don't. And I brought up my
It's the
mother. There were
same.
times after her stroke where it's something when someone has a stroke, they become really intense with their feelings. And there were moments where I was like, I can't do this again. I can't have this conversation where she crying again. But in my mind, I'm like, she never had this before. So I gotta do it. I gotta get through it. I gotta say it. And I
Right.
have to express my feelings about it, but I still have to give space to my family and friends to be able to come to me and talk about stuff and not feel like I
Right.
can solve their problem.
Because sometimes we in this space too, Nate, that no matter what we're going through, we should still be grateful. And even though that is the case, though, no matter what we're going through, we should still be grateful. It's still, we have to embrace that fact that we can go through and we are going to go through. And just because we are going through doesn't say that we aren't grateful. So sometimes I think it's a lot of that too. I know it is for me that
But
that saying,
Chad,
that
sometimes you
saying,
don't feel
if
grateful.
anything, right, you don't. But sometimes
Yeah.
I guess it's that saying that's always in the back of us, oh, I won't complain. And I always say when people say that, is that, oh no, it's not a complaint, it's just an acknowledgement where we have to get more comfortable with acknowledging that, okay, this is what's
Right.
going on, and it's not okay, and I'm not okay with it, but things will be okay. See, it's that part. It's
Yeah.
like being okay that you're not okay and recognizing that they will eventually be okay, but at the same time, it's like you won't complain, but you had to acknowledge. You
And we're
had
in
to
this tough, I
acknowledge
think
it.
we're in a tough
And that's
life
a headache. That's
situation.
stress in itself. We're not able to
Yeah.
really embrace what you're really going through. Like when you are sad and not being able to, you always gotta put on this face because one, you don't want
Hmm.
anybody to think less of you or that you're
Right.
weak or that, like how you said, people are taught ahead about it. Like it could be
Yeah.
the same thing with something that you're going through. Like for me, and how you bring up your mom and her illness, my mother with my cancer, her cancer,
Hmm.
fighting cancer for 9 years. I always tell the story, and I know people always say, "Oh, you always talk about it," but right, it was a time where I couldn't talk about it. You know what I
And
mean? It was so
it helps.
devastating, or
I
so
think
many
something
people
that
going
happened,
through that
somebody's supposed to
illness.
hear it though. Somebody who didn't hear it those other 9 years need to hear it now. And it's a balance because a lot of us don't get through stuff because
Right,
as the young events that will often say, we like to get high off those stories. And when you
right,
get high off those stories, we just keep telling. We stay in that rut. But there's something about telling your testimony and being finding spaces to be able to share that testimony. So you are helping other people. You are in a space of helping. It is devastating to me, whether it's a celebrity or somebody I know who has passed away, especially due to suicide. And I'm gonna tell you, sometimes suicide ain't putting a gun to your head. Suicide is not being healthy, not addressing your mental health, not addressing your physical health, not
okay,
taking care of yourself, making bad decisions, overeating, oversexing, over drugging, over drinking. That's still a form of
okay.
suicide that may not have caught up
Yeah,
with you yet.
that so many people are doing.
Right.
It's been
Exactly.
killing themselves softly, and not
Hmm.
even with looking into other things.
Yeah.
To fill that void, for like how you say with drugs or whatever else like that. For a lot of people, it can just be those instances of the overthinking, of
Yeah.
the feeling guilt, those type of things that add that stress on top of you. Because a lot of times, like we say, stress kills.
Stress
So
kills.
that's essentially it, holding on to that stress that gets dipped down inside of you, that turns into that depression, what we can't let go, that is essentially killing us softly and killing us solely, having to
Hmm.
deal with that and hold that stuff in.
Yeah.
So
It
yeah, when we see instances like this, okay, a shot in the head, or while we think about suicide, someone taking pills or whatever, it's people, right, that are still
Mhm.
knowing things that are not healthy for them, knowing where it leads. We know this, you know, and we still don't change those type of habits or those things about ourselves. How many times, how I was just now recognizing it's just so much death happening around us, and people be like, "Oh, I always say, oh yeah, I'm just trying to live," but how many times we are not? You know what I
Mm.
mean? And we know that. How many times we know life is short? We know that we going to go. Like how you were saying, you ready to turn 40. When I was turning 40, I just turned 40 this year. Yes. Oh my goodness, did I go through something? I quit my job. I looked at one day, I just woke up and I just started looking at everything. I really like embraced it, like, oh my goodness. I look at the fact how you talked about your mother and work, and how my mother all her life was a nurse taking care of people.
Mhm.
How when she got sick and
Keep
couldn't
going, keep
work,
going. I got to
the
plug my
stuff
phone
she
up.
had
Keep
to
going.
yeah, the stuff she had to go through to fight for benefits and everything else like this, the thanks she got from friends and family or people just supporting her, just like, dang, you give all your life, you do all these things, and it's like, this the things I get, this what it's all about.
And it was
Like
when I
this
was
is my
thinking of
life.
when we said we was going to do this, I started, looking at, of course, stories, but this one was just on my heart
Mm,
the last 2 days because we neglect each other in a space of just not caring. And it's hurtful to me when we don't acknowledge each other. And I know we've all been through things, but sometimes people are going through things that you would not imagine,
Yeah.
or you've never had to go through yourself. And
Mhm.
how we put so little value on people's trials and struggles, and we
Yes.
laugh and we talk about people,
And
and
guess what?
you
I
know.
thank God that right now, at this point in my life, or whatever, the things that I'm going through, Nate, that I have learned to encourage myself. And just like
Mhm,
I said, it's not a complaint, it's just an acknowledgement. Every morning, I give myself some affirmations, even if it's simple as not being able to pay a bill or getting a turn off notice or whatever my guess. I say, you know what? You done play this thing consistently, but it's okay. This is things, those things or whatever in your life. Like everything is like people feel like we can't go through nothing. And then when we do go through stuff, it's like we beat ourselves up for going through
mhm,
normal day things. And also, like everything that we had talked about tonight, it's sad that when people go through stuff and it's publicized in a way to be so negative that we know can lead to depression, or how we talked about the Will Smith thing, how we shunned him. You know,
mhm.
it's just like in a lot of these situations, like not saying it like that, but that typically could have led to these people committing suicide on
it's
how
it's
we
it's
neglect each other. And
it's a hurtful
yeah,
thing to be
it's a
in.
lot.
It's really hurtful to know that we are in. Technology is just not liking me right now. It's
Huh?
just sad to be in these
I
moments.
was
Can you
saying
hear
that
me?
too. Like, why is my power going down? Yes, I can hear you.
But it's just, and I'm gonna move on from this. But it's just, I don't want to see another person either on our timeline, whether it's somebody I know or a celebrity. You know, we know so much now about mental health. We've seen it so much
Hmm.
that we don't acknowledge it, and we still are putting it off, and we're still making people, feel low vibrational for feeling,
Yeah.
especially men. Like, it's not gay to cry, it's not gay to be in your feelings, or have emotions that you have not dealt with. It's not toxic to simply have things build up inside of me. The toxic thing is how you have chosen to deal with it
Deal with
or
it.
put it out there. That's what makes it toxic, you
Yeah.
know, or low vibrational. That's what happens when we don't deal with it. But part of us dealing with it, many of us were pushed out into adulthood with not very many tools to be able to deal with our physical and emotional self. So many of us are
Good.
doing what comes natural to us or what we've seen other people do, say friends or celebrities, or I was hoping that he didn't kill himself. I was hoping it was an accidental something, but
Mm,
when it was confirmed, it was just hard because I follow him on TikTok. So
yeah.
I'm seeing this man and his wife just dancing across the screen. And I don't know
Yeah,
what if that
I
was his,
seen
his
something too,
therapy.
and I don't know how true it was, but I was seeing one little post too where they were saying it was like 24 hours or something before this tragedy supposed to happen, and he just was smiling, he was just dancing. I seen a number of his TikToks being reshared, um, and it yeah, it's sad, man.
Mm,
It's sad. It's sad. It's very sad. It's sad. And so, with that being said, I just beckon to anybody that is feeling like they don't have anybody. It's so many different outlets, even though it's not anyone personally connected to you. I've been seeing something also been shared about um, a hotline. I think the number is 933 or something you can dial in your phone. But a lot of states have it state by state, um, as well as I think like a national line. as well. What did happen to Nate? He didn't drive. He said he told me technology wasn't his friend. So I think I'm in
Sorry,
there. There
girl.
you go. There you
Today
go.
has just been. I told you it's been a day. It's been
It's all right because we making it do what they got to do and we
right.
coming through. And look, anytime you talking about something positive, because I was getting on that note that people serve all type of substances. But what my belief is that I just thank the God for keeping me. Me, it's definitely been my faith. Like I said, I definitely had to give myself those reminders. You
Mm,
get to points when you recognize certain things in your life aren't where they supposed to be. I'm just
right.
really focused on how I'm feeling right now. That's what I'm
Hmm.
really focused on. A lot of people say you in your feelings or whatever else like that, but that's what it is for me. Is that a lot is going off of how I feel, and I'm being more open to recognize how I feel. And I just beckon anyone, if you going through something or whatever, talk to someone. And if you feel like you can't go to anybody, I don't know what your relations is or what your faith lies, but I would
Hmm.
say cry out to God because it has
Right.
truly helped me. Um, with the God, being in me as a goddess. And you just have to speak life
Hmm.
into yourself. You do. We got to get more accustomed to doing that. As much as we beat ourselves up, we really do. I
The
know
therapy is
society put
very
so many
accessible now.
stipulations. Yeah, society put so many stipulations. How we were talking about on age, on a
Hmm.
certain status, where you're supposed to be financially, whatever. It's so many pressures on top of all of the things that keep on happening, which is the traumas that
Hmm.
add to our life and our situation. Is just so much. It's just so much. So
Right.
trying to stay positive, I think people get it twisted. It's not saying that things are always going to be okay. It's just recognizing that you need to try to have that mindset
Right.
that they will be. That's what positive is. And so when a friend or somebody is going through something, don't look at them as they bringing some negative energy or some force. They're going through stuff and they're going through life. And help them, love them, pray their way through, and be there for them. And
Hmm.
be there for them.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
same way you would want someone to be there for you.
It. Yeah. That's. I mean, I think you said it. Um. But let's just normalize and being there for somebody may be different for Chaz as it is for me.
Yes.
Know what you are best at. If you are
Mhm.
hands-on type of emotional person, if you're a good listener, if you are a person that can just make a good hot meal and take it to somebody, figure out what that is for you and do that. You,
Right.
I
And
can't tell
sometimes
you
it's
how
just
to make you
listening.
feel better.
And
All I can
sometimes
do is accept what you how you bring it to me.
And a lot of times it's just listening, Nate. A lot of times it's just listening, Nate. Just like, I get on here, and I run my mouth. But people that really know me know that I'm quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quiet. I talk to people that I want to talk to when I can get it out. So when I'm around some people and I feel comfortable with it, I tend to talk their heads off. Because
Mm-hmm.
like how you said, I don't get that. And to some people it's strange. They must say, "Oh, Chaz don't know me like that," and she talking my head off. But sometimes it feel good to go around people and people share with you and open up. And not that you feel good about somebody going through something, but when you're having a discussion with someone and you can relate to them, it's like, okay, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This is my space to let it out and let them know that I can relate and they can relate to me. And that feels good.
Yeah.
That feels good. That's an outlet. That's an outlet for me. So
And
sorry if I get around you. That's
I want to make
you.
sure that even in this conversation, we are putting out information that is helpful.
Mhm.
If you need help and it's immediate, get to your phone. You can call the
Yeah.
National Suicide Prevention and Crisis Line at 1-800 273 8255, and it's live help. I've volunteered on this line before. It is live help. If it's anything from domestic violence to child abuse to whatever it may be, call the line. suicide prevention is it that's the
Yeah.
face of it, but there are a lot of counselors on that line that can help you get through whatever you're going through.
Yes.
It's not,
Please do.
often we don't have the family and friends around us to be able to help us go through things, and sometimes our pride is too big to be able to go to those people because we're the strong one, or I always have it together, or I'm the happy one. How could I need this type of help? But call this line right now. I'm gonna leave it up for the rest of the show, but just find the help that you need and don't be ashamed of the help that you need.
Yeah.
Um, and talk to someone, write it down, get it out of your mind, whatever it may take, but do something to get it out of your mind so it's not just on that loop going around, whatever
Right.
the struggle may be. Because right now
Look,
things
even
are
if you
real.
got write it, look, even if you got write it on Facebook, people should even that to say
Somebody gonna hear
everything.
it. Somebody's gonna hear it.
Everybody say everything is for everybody on Facebook. And sometimes when I type stuff, it's not necessarily something that may be happening to me right there in my life right now, but I might speak on,
Mhm.
a situation, something that I'm aware of, something that someone is going through or I have been through previously. And it's just to,
Yep.
bring awareness to it. And it's like I said, a lot of times, get it up off of me.
Yep. Start the conversation
Get
however
it
you
up
need to.
off of me.
It may be
So
the wrong
yeah.
time. It may be in the middle of a meeting at work, or on a
Yeah.
phone call with a friend, or in the middle of church service.
That might
Get
help
it out.
them. And let people get it out how they can get it out. And it doesn't
Right.
lead to
I'd rather
something
I'd
where
rather
we gotta
hurt
be
feelings.
shocked
Right. I'd
or
rather hurt
tragedy. When you
feelings.
somebody and I curse or get to cursing everybody out and everybody just see what it is on the surface, but nobody understand all this stuff you've been holding in and you
Yeah.
know.
I'd rather the hurt feelings or the frustration of me doing it in the wrong time than somebody standing up at my funeral wishing
Mm,
I had did it. So
mm,
get it out,
say that.
call this helpline. If you are the person watching it, I'm good for saying a little comment, but I'm gonna follow that up and go right into your inbox. You good?
Yeah.
Fine, everything good. Sometimes that's all it is, just to know somebody cares, and you may
Yeah.
not even be strong enough to talk about it. But when somebody shows you compassion, and I've been blessed throughout life to have random strangers coming when I need something, and not just
Yeah.
stuff, but just need something.
Hmm.
Understand those blessings when you're going through as well, because sometimes the bills are piling up and the money is shrinking, and all these
Mm,
things are coming all at one time. But just stay, like she was saying, stay focused on the things that have happened great for you.
yes.
Sometimes that stuff be far in between for some of us, but you
Yes.
want, to those somebody called you about the blue and you ain't have nothing to eat, no
Yes.
money to eat with, and somebody called you about the blue and got you a
Give
cheesesteak
yourself
from such and such place.
give yourself credit. I'm
Mm,
trying to tell you, give yourself credit.
right.
Stop beating yourself up so much.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, stop beating yourself up. It's unfortunate how society's put so many pressures on you to tell you, you're supposed to be like this, getting this, doing it this certain way. But everybody's life is different. We all have different abilities, different capabilities, different talents, different gifts. And it's just different out here for some people. And we got to be okay with the indifferences in
Mm-hmm.
people's life and feeling, and hopefully us being able to embrace that and, and keep talking about stuff like this, Nate, and letting it know be okay that it'll make that difference.
Right.
So someone the next time will be more comfortable, with letting it out in whatever way they feel they need to, even if it's calling that line
Right.
that you put down at the bottom of the board. Yes, definitely,
Well,
please.
we
But it was
gotta.
a shocker. Condolences to Twitch's family.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a beautiful talent, beautiful. Definitely brought some joy to my life. I always say laughter feeds the soul, so I can remember seeing him dance and the moments he shared, and I was able to laugh and everything. I was like, that's so salute to him for that. It's definitely sad.
just said. That's all you can say when things like this happen. It's like I be in the loss for words. It's like, what can you say, or how many times have we said it?
Well,
You know what
well,
I mean?
actually, before we go to that last story, when stuff like this happen, take this moment right now to go through your mental Rolodex. Think about the
Mm.
people you haven't talked to in a while. Think about the people you mad at right now. Think about the people who you know going through life stuff, and just reach out to them. Have a phone conversation with them. If nothing else, invite them out to lunch. Send them some lunch. Send them a random text message. It's somebody that was on here right now. His name is Eddie Satterfield. He played Uncle Brother.
Okay.
Just met this man, and we just had lunch together yesterday. And he sends out these, inspirational gifs every morning. And normally that would get on my nerves. But in me learning who he is, it even when I don't respond to it, it just put a extra thing in my mind, like somebody on this thread that he's sending this to needed this.
Yes.
And I started
Yes.
to believe them because I was like, I'm not for that. I don't like them chain messages.
Yes.
Don't you put me on your early 7 a.m. list of text message. But not realizing sometimes you need it.
Yes.
Speaking of needing some support, the last story that we have today is Miss Meg the Stallion and Mr. Tory Lanez. They are in court right now.
And we
This was
still talking about this.
issued-
I know.
well,
Get it
it's
boy.
actually in court right now. So the
The
trial
story
is
keeps changing, or should I say the lies?
now with
Yeah.
who though?
Child, but I look at it. Oh, you said who I think is lying?
Mm-hmm.
Tory. And it's in the child that is his which name I don't know. From the information that I've read how it looks, allegedly, yes, I know Meg did lie.
So
Um,
we gonna talk about the two of them real quick. So what
okay.
so what happens in life? There are women who make false allegations, and there
Yeah.
are men who are toxic as fuck. Now,
Mm.
we just finished talking about what's toxic and how we define it and all that. But there's
Yeah.
sometimes
What is it?
ain't it people out in the world. So I don't really think it's that people don't like Megan, but I think who Tory Lanez represents is closer to something that is more comfortable to them.
Mm.
We know more people like Tory Lanez than we know probably like Megan Thee Stallion.
Mm.
And what is happening is we have justified that type of behavior that Tory Lanez and this
Did.
young lady, who I'm
Yeah.
not even going to say her
Against
name,
black woman, right?
normalize those types of behaviors so much that
Mm.
she gotta be lying. Now, mind
You
you,
gotta be.
we have gone through almost 10 years of believe the victim.
Yeah.
Believe the victim. From the time this young lady opened her mouth, nobody believed what he
Nobody.
said. Now he has his lawyers doing what he's been doing this whole time, making her out to be some slut that's just lying.
Yeah.
And it's
And
heartbreaking
that
to
came from
see.
the relationship. And it was two black women when all hindsight, the way that I'm seeing in the story, it was another sister being disrespected, being played with. It went too far.
Mm-hmm,
You tried to
mm-hmm,
silence them. And then, like how Meg was saying, there was a lot of things going on back then about the police shootings or whatever else like that. So, one, she was thinking about it in that hindsight, how she was saying, didn't want to tell the truth. So initially, she did lie about
But
what essentially
but
happened
no,
to
but
saying that the
that wasn't
glass,
initial. She covered. She didn't say anything
right,
until he started saying something.
right. But no, reports were saying when she said when the police came there because how she was feeling about, you know, how the things that were happening in the world with the police brutality and with
Mm-hmm.
black men being shot or whatever. So she didn't want to make any indications that he had a gun or, you know, exactly what happened. But how many times has that happened? You know, when something happens in the domestic aspect, And when the police come, just because of our
Mm-hmm.
understanding of them, we are reluctant to really tell them the truth or what happened. And that's just what Meg did. You know, she just was like, oh, Glass, what's your name, my foot? And then thinking of him as a black man, someone that she supposed to been cool with. I'm sure she's like, wow, you know, he did this to me. You know, how many, it's like a situation that happens too much.
But again, we didn't know any of those
No,
details
we
until he
didn't.
came out speaking, and
He
she
was
felt she
already,
had to tell a story.
yeah.
Because he
And he started
responded
telling
to
it
what
fast.
TMZ was putting out, and she felt like, well, let me say something. And I believe she did. I think she was more so covering for him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why she was saying initially that she lied when the police came. That
Hmm.
that one she was coming for him in light of all of the stuff that was going on, you know, with police
Because we,
brutality and
but
guns.
we've been
She didn't want to.
speculating. People have been speculating this whole time. Man, she didn't get shot. Man, she lying.
Yeah,
Now
that
we know
glass
that she's
just cut her
actually been
foot.
shot. Now what?
Yes, she was actually shot.
But there are people who still feel like she's lying on him.
Right. And now there's supposed to have been something where the girl was upset that she had found out him and Meg was sleeping together and she initially shot. But my whole thing is, why would Meg have to lie? If I got shot, I remember what happened to me and I remember exactly what was said. Like she said initially, no, she didn't see him pull the gun, but she knew what the conversation was. It supposed to have been some type of, you know, disagreement
But
and she was, I guess,
they
talking about
brought
his
up other
tablet.
guys that she's allegedly slept with around the same time, and the fact that they was in a relationship and that she was drunk. Long story short, I don't care what
Oh, I thought it was
mood
supposed to
I
say
was
he
in or
said
who I
something
slept
about he
with.
can't
I didn't
run
deserve to be
chair.
shot in my feet.
Yeah, and she said she walked away and she heard him like in this sexist way say dance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
That's what happened.
And we see it happen. I don't know why people think that it is so unreal. Like even today, you can be a woman, a black woman walking, and the guy something be trying to talk to you, you still get that. Or how you respond, they cuss you out, disrespect you real, real
That's
bad.
why I said
Where it gets to the
we are more
point.
comfortable with him and this young lady. We're more comfortable with those types of people than we are with Meg the Stallion.
Mm,
And because we don't I'm not saying we're not good people at our core, but we're used to toxic behavior.
right.
We're
Like it's
used
not
to
okay. It's not
right.
okay that what was so small, whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
whatever was alleged, supposed to have been a conversation that led up to it. Because I had heard too that she was saying he couldn't rap, sing, or something was slighting his talent, honey, that led to this, and he was, you know, in his feelings and reacted. Of course, they
But
probably were under the
if you go
influence
back
or
to the
whatever
beginning
else.
of the story, she wasn't saying anything. It was
No.
stuff that was starting to come out where
Mm-hmm.
they had the footage of her backing up out of the car and limping and and they see they see it, but at the same time somebody caught the footage, so that's how it got out. She
Right.
wasn't talking, she didn't say anything, and for the longest time she was defending him until
Yes.
he then
And
was
then
getting
you hear
charged
though
with
when it
something.
first happened or whatever that he allegedly was trying to pay them off, like not
Hmm.
to say anything, so it wouldn't get out.
Right.
So I don't think that offer was received and she wasn't talking, and I think he kind of got scared and he started talking, kind of like telling on yourself.
Hmm.
I guess thinking that she would, you know, talk,
Right.
but I don't think. I think she just didn't want to accept his money
Right.
or take his money. I think she was gonna try to move past it. Like how you said, taking up for him, lying for him, not really
Now,
wanting it to
this
get
young
out.
lady right here, I'm not gonna say her name because she don't need any more clout than what she's already getting.
Oh, who
So
is though?
there are people who are reporting from inside
Mm.
cameras. Camera, I'm sorry, I was choking. cameras aren't allowed in the courtroom, so
You
people are
choking or you
recording.
gagging?
I was just,
you, you choking or you gagging,
but
honey?
she is the norm right now.
They said she got that million. So she's
So she is saying that he has not paid her off. He has not intimidated her. But it's mighty funny that they have her attorneys, Meg's attorneys have text messages that she sent out right after it happened saying Tory shot Meg.
mm,
Um, her her talking to the police officers, admitting that he did do it, and then he tried to assault her as well. Now she's going. She doesn't know. I don't understand. I don't remember. I don't recall. Now, if I'm in the back, and if allegedly the two of them were in the back seat together, and Meg was up front. Now, it is mighty funny. One, first of all, who was the driver, and why haven't we
well,
heard
I'm
from him
saying
yet?
she got shot when she exited the vehicle. So she got shot in the vehicle allegedly. Oh, okay.
Well, no, they said well, that part has not been clear. So I guess we go, you know, we
Yeah, on
won't get
some
the
sources when I
transcript
was
until
reading
after.
it, on some sources when I was reading it, that's like, it supposed to have been like this little jive verbal altercation inside the vehicle, and actually he shot when she was leaving. It's like, she had enough. They had their words, and it's like, okay, let me get out. Okay, yeah, okay, whatever. She probably made a little slight to his what's your name, whatever, dude. You probably can't even rap, them being friends or
Hmm.
whatever, like that. And he reacted in a way that is unacceptable.
But to
Whether
shoot
he
somebody,
shot at the ground.
if it was this young lady or Tory Lanez, no matter who it was, you don't
Mm,
get to shoot somebody in the feet because you don't like what they said.
right,
Now I can say if she was being aggressive with him and putting their hands on him, we haven't heard anything like that from her. You can
right.
say whatever you want to
And
say.
I mean, he, in hindsight, he shot at the ground, I guess, the truth. But yeah, he's so comfortable to pull out a gun again to disrespect a sister for something so small. And why would she have to lie? Why would she have to lie? And she got shot. Why would she have to lie? And then for the other girl who name you're not going to mention, like, why is it that in the midst of it, you know what I'm saying, as your adrenaline was running and everything and you were there, how you not recall what
Because she
happened?
been
But then
paid
you send
off.
out this text.
He said, "Now look, baby, you who I really wanted. Look at me speculating. See, I'm doing the same thing I say other people doing. But there's
Ah,
no other reason you would get on unless you're afraid. And this, when I say I've seen him coming out of a concert, and when I
hold
say this
on.
man
And
is
then
a
it goes
midget,
back to that thing, too, because Madeline also made a mention of she didn't want to be put in that category as a snitch. You
see,
see
you know what?
how,
I don't like that stop snitching culture.
see?
I
And that's
don't,
what
I
I'm
don't like
saying.
it.
When
I
something
hate
so
it. I hate
detrimental
the
like
fact that
this
we're
happens
there.
to you, when something like this so detrimental happened to you, and she had her own traumas or her own reason for not even wanting to say anything, and now that it's out, that's even trauma on top of it. Like, can you
That stop
imagine something
snitching
like that happening to
that
you
stop
if someone
snitching
is
culture was
saying
dealing
you
with the
lying?
internal criminal ring. That has nothing to do with everyday citizens.
Right.
Nothing at all to
If
do
somebody's
with
shooting you, if somebody's
we.
shooting
And that,
you.
but see, and I only speak about black culture. We do
Mm.
that to each other. We bully each other. We harm each other. And
This
how
what we
dare
doing
you,
now.
how dare you have a defense? How dare you?
Yeah. This is what we doing now. Like, when it be different situations, even when we talk about, you know, people in our culture when they get raped, we always blame the victim. What
Always,
were you doing? Oh, they grown or whatever
always.
else like that. Like you said, more situations that we can't sympathize with. Oh, look at my little buddy Cody. He going off about the bearded drag, and he don't like when he moves. Come on, Cody. He don't
But
like
that's
when he
but
moves.
that's what we do.
That's
Like
what I do.
I can mistreat you and you don't get to speak up for yourself.
Yeah.
That's just it's weird to me. It's weird. It's weird culture, and that stop snitching stuff. Like I've heard that a lot. And Meg's a snitch. He shot her. Was she not?
Right.
Meg is not a criminal. He's not a
Mm.
criminal. He's
And
pretending
just
to
like
be
you
one.
said, it was various reasons why she wasn't comfortable with Shan. I guess if people want to say that she lied, was Shan the truth or Shan what really happened when it
And,
did happen.
and at the lightest aspect of it, what he's doing now, what he got his attorney. If you go on like social media, you'll see his attorney every day after the trial doing like a video.
Okay, yeah.
And the attorney is going through and talking about who
Yeah,
she slept with and all those things, giving those
yeah,
details to the public so we can continue to have this negative outlook on her. And this is probably what she was afraid of. Like he
yeah,
got dirt on her, like who
yeah,
she was sleep. And this is probably why
yeah,
she don't want to come out. But
yeah.
it's just I pray that she gets through this. And she has a fan base that has nothing to do with him. So what we hear is his fan base having a louder voice. Meg is fine. Meg is eating. Meg is somewhere sleeping, lugged up. But one of the hurtful things that came out of this, and I didn't know if that was actually something she said, but it was something that she had that's being reported from a number of people that were inside the courtroom. She said on trial, on stand, I wish he would have just killed me instead of
Mm,
having to go through all of this.
right.
This has been, I mean, and
Wow.
partially because, greatly because of the pandemic, the trial has been pushed up to this point, and I'm sure, the lawyers been trying to pull it off and push it back, and you know that thing that they do where they just kept trying to get a continuation, so one
Yeah.
side will just give up.
Right.
But
Right. But the way he's going about it, like I said,
mhm,
it's just crazy. I think that if he would have just owned up to it being an
yeah,
accident, even if that was a little bit aside from really the truth,
just do your
because it
time,
was
brother.
something
Do
he
your
did.
time.
But maybe you wouldn't be facing as much time as you were facing that you're
Mhm,
facing whatever. Because I think he's what facing 20,
yeah.
20 something years. There's a slew of charges. It's not for us, but it's for having a possession of that gun, unlicensed or whatever else like that. So even if in this situation where if he doesn't, I guess, get what is due to him for the assault on Megan, he will receive some, I guess, for just having a possession of this gun or whatever. But yeah, Nate, you absolutely right. It's sad.
It's
Like I
sad.
said,
It's sad because this is
she
how
can't
we
even tell her truth. Somebody
right.
done did something to her, and she's been
But this is,
talked about
I mean,
for it.
I
She's
think
a
what's happening.
victim,
I'm sorry, I'm trying to
and she's
plug
made
this damn
she's
phone up.
been made to feel bad. Oh no, go ahead. She's been made to feel bad. I'm pushing ahead to plug mine up too. But I know we'll be ending this shortly. So I'm like, okay, go ahead, Android. Hold on. Uh, but yeah, it's sad. It's crazy.
This is ghetto today. This is
It
really
is
hot ghetto today.
crazy.
But
No,
it's
it's like really nice. It's like really nice. The entertainment for me. You had the pictures where I'm able to look in and embrace it. It was a get my thoughts together. This is a really nice setup
but
on here. Absolutely.
it's something that happens, and I say this one for last because I notice this happening more and more culturally. You know, because we side with because even in this situation, when we are supposed to be giving grace to men and we're supposed to be, believing men, we choose situations like this to do it. So then when the pendulum swings the other way, when there's a Will Smith or something like that dealing with real problems,
Mm.
we it's I don't know how we pick and choose what we support. That's I don't know the rhyme or reason to it. And that's the scary part for me because I don't know what goes into making people believe people or not. Like
Mm.
I'm glad none of these people are on in the jury for her. I'm really
Mm.
glad none of these social media people are care to go to jury duty
Right.
because I can't imagine what it may feel like if she is like let's just say she's telling the truth.
Right.
Because I'm a person that I don't believe in public opinion. Let's take it to court. Let's let the professionals deal with this. But let's say she's telling the truth. So for
Mm-hmm.
him to then do this smear campaign on
Mm.
her this whole time, he's made
Yeah,
songs.
she lied about everything.
So who shot her?
Who shot at him? They
Who shot
proven that she has
her?
been shot in her feet. She did not shoot
Who
herself in her
shot her?
feet. So who shot
So
her?
what is on the camera? And so it's all made up. It's spasm in her mind.
What and,
Is
and what is gonna come
happening?
out is whoever that driver was. That's probably gonna be the deciding factor in all of this.
But
Because
all that I
that
don't
person hasn't
recall
spoken
stuff.
out.
If you're around something and something like that happens so tragic around you in your presence, that's something that you never forget. So all
I
that
need I
I
need
don't
some of these
recall stuff.
older celebrities that may have some type of pull and getting close to her. Let her know these people are not your friends. These are not the people you need to hang out with. You need to
Mm,
either need to go over there to Cardi B and Offset and be friends with them.
mm.
Leave these people alone. They are not your friend, baby. They are
Please leave
not
them
your
alone.
friend. It is
And that's
very
the point that
obvious.
I was making because Tories could have really took a stand. Like, come on now, because you essentially saying like, regardless of what, Meg was your friend. It happened. You know what I'm
But he
saying?
don't want to
Okay,
go
you
to
made a
jail.
mistake.
That little booty don't want to go to jail.
Right, but that little boy don't want to. But I mean, it was a mistake. You did what you did, and you was wrong. You could have came out. Yeah, I was drunk. I was under the influence. I shot. I don't know. It just could have been a different thing. But just to just blatantly come out and make it like this lady is just lying, like this never happened. Well,
Now
who
he's
are
trying
you
to make her
saying
feel like
shot
she
her,
a
Tory?
slut and she a hoe.
Yeah,
Let's
who
say
are
she
you
is a
saying
slut and
shot
a
her?
hoe. That didn't
And
give you
then
any
this
right to.
other
Do you shoot people because they're a slut?
right. And then the woman that's lying for you on the stand with all this don't recall stuff, she's the
Well, she
one
about to
who's
get both
supposed
of
to be.
y'all sometime.
She's the one supposed to be irritated or upset because she found out y'all was sleeping together. Like, come on. Like, okay, so what happened? She shot her, that's what you're saying? So you threw her under the
Well,
bus,
that's
like
his,
what
and
you
that's his lawyers now
so
putting the
do they
blame on her,
care?
and she is
Like what
sitting on
happened?
she is sitting on the stand defending him, and he making her out to be the person who did it. So he about to get you a gun charge,
Yeah,
miss.
right.
He
Because
about to get
they
you a
was the
whole
only ones
gun
there,
charge.
right? They was the only ones there, right?
No, it was the three of them, and whoever the driver was.
Okay. But what I'm saying is that the only three that was kind of there, involved in the incident. Okay. So the
Hmm.
drivers was there. But right, it's crazy, Nate, how they just putting it out here that like Meg is this one. How she got shot? Who shot her then?
But we see this stuff happening in the hood. We
Whatever the
see it happen.
backstory is, it's not okay that people are so comfortable like that is the response that whatever the disagreement was or whatever outside that he pulled this gun out or
Mhm.
whoever to address whatever the issue was and shot at this lady point
You
blank
know, you know
period.
what I posted? I said the same people that are defending Tory Lanez are the same people who turn a blind eye when their girlfriend come over and she got a black eye, or the same people who heard their mother getting beat and they just walked out the house or they didn't say anything. These are the same
Yeah.
type of people who are defending Tory Lanez in this situation. And I don't know what happened because I was not there, but the way they're responding to this,
Mm,
anytime a man jumps to giving out whole charges, he guilty.
tell me about it. Or
You
even if
guilty.
that is the case where when that is the allegations that it makes it okay. Like even if that was the case.
Yeah,
Even if
yeah.
that was the case, that still do not make it okay
Because
for
those
somebody
other
to
people
assault
she
you
was
in that
sleeping
manner.
with, guess what? They weren't in the car.
Mm,
None of the people that you alleging that she slept with also around the same time. And now I understand why she was saying my body, my choice. I can do what I want to do. I can sleep with whoever I want to sleep with. And because I guess she
mm-hmm.
knew this was coming out.
Uh-uh.
But at the same time, it just is mighty interesting that that's your defense, sir. Your
Yes, that's
defense is she was
crazy.
sleeping with other people.
And then throw this other right, and then throw this other lady under the bus and say that's what it was about, or it wasn't you that shot or whatever.
And
This
there's
is what happened.
the fool of a lady then going along with it. I don't know. I don't remember. And they clearly told her, they said, you now she has immunity, which is like, how does
Yes,
she get immunity?
yes, that's
But
why
at
they
the
trying to
same
shift
time, they let
it.
her know that perjury isn't a part of that immunity. So if you perjure yourself, meaning you said one thing during your deposition when the detectives was getting your information, and
Mm.
now you're saying something totally different on.
Something
Stand. So
totally
they find you to
different.
be lying on stand, baby, you're going to jail for perjury.
But I think just even that text immediately that she sent out after the fact,
Mm-hmm.
Megs, the prosecutors are saying that they have that text as well as a text from Tory too, back and where he was allegedly apologizing
Yep.
about what happened. But his defense team is saying that that is not necessarily him taking the blame or saying that it was him who shot. He just was sorry that the whole situation happened. But it was the three of y'all. A gun was
So
involved.
allegedly
Meg was
now,
shot.
but see, allegedly now, uh, well, in the beginning, they were saying he was denying everything because he had other charges. And if he was to get caught on this, then that would be the problem. And that was up until that point, Meg was not saying anything until he started
Right.
coming out. And that's what happens. They flip the switch on you. So now you a hoe. And I remember they were saying she couldn't even take the D, like just throwing anything that would stick and just
Mm,
seeing what color the wall will be today and just
mm,
throwing it out there. And it's because this is what you know. This is what happens in the hood right now. This is what happens,
yeah.
whether it be a man or woman or two, no matter what it
It's
is.
always
And
the
then there's always
story.
someone like the
What did they
friend.
do? It's like nobody, it's so many stuff that happens to us that nobody deserves, really, essentially. But
Hmm.
it's always, well, what did they do? It's,
Right.
it's always made like that. It's always when bad happens to us, people always look for the bad that we may have done to produce this result.
Right.
It's never just empathizing for them. I always say that all the time. Like how when we see numerous of tragedies happen here and people get killed, it never amazes me how the media will bring up their criminal record
Hmm.
or something like that when they were
Or
like
anything that they're
innocently killed
associated
or
with.
murdered. Like what that death charge got to do with them being shot down in the street?
Nothing.
With them, you know
Nothing.
what I mean? Or they try to tie it to that. Oh, he was locked up, had a lengthy record for
Hmm.
selling drugs. And even though he may have sold drugs, that might have not been the reason why he was killed. But even if so, that was the case, that does not mean that he was deserved. It's just crazy how
But
we do
that's
that
something
and
they
how
do
we
to us.
accept
That's
that
something
in
they do
our
to us.
culture.
And now this is something we do to each other. We
Yes,
now we are doing the same thing to each other
all the
now.
time. All the
Brother, take your
time.
time. Like if you make it 20 years. If you would have just admitted this up front, I'm sure Meg
Yes.
probably wouldn't
It would
even
have been
have she would have
different.
probably kept the lie going and just said, I don't know what
Yes.
happened. But again, she had to go to the emergency room, and that's where
Yes.
all these facts are coming from. She couldn't justify why she had gun fragments in her feet.
Yes. And then she did try to lie. Just like I said, if people want to hone on that and say that Meg died, okay, I mean, lied. Yes, excuse me, lied. Look, thinking about
Mhm.
all that. But yeah, I'm thinking about her comment that stuck in my head. Like, wow, when you said what she said on the stand that she wished he would have just killed her and died. Like, to just think
Mhm.
somebody feel like that about something like this happened. But okay, if
Right.
they're going to hold on to the fact that she lied, okay, even her explanation of why she didn't come out with it in the truth originally. Like I can even empathize with that
Yeah,
on
she
what's
did the
going
interview.
on.
When she did
Her
the interview with
thinking,
Gail King, they ate her alive.
her
Said she was
thinking that
fake
these are her
crying.
friends. We just seen it happen with the tragedy with Shanquella Robinson. Her
Yep.
thinking these are her friends. Her thinking that she's already gonna get that label of being a snitch if she tells what happened and what was wrong. And now we see another situation, just like that with Shaquilla Robinson. Like after the fact, y'all have to come and try to clear your name
Don't do
and
no dirt in
separate
front
from
of
the
me.
truth.
Don't do
Huh?
no dirt in front of me.
Mm,
I'm just saying to you. Don't shoot
mm,
nobody in front of me. And you know what? And it changes when it's on your doorstep. That's when this
yeah.
changes. And for me, I was definitely one of them people that just kept my nose down and was
Mm,
like, I'm a student and I don't feel anything until I uh I walked into my grandmother's apartment and somebody had left her for dead.
mm,
Uh and it rang true to me because there were people close to our family who knew what happened, but
mm.
because of
And
that
didn't
whole
want to say nothing.
that street code, nobody would tell. So the case is
Mm,
still technically unsolved. They found out information, but because of that street code, nobody's going to tell. And then I have a little cousin, same thing. I'll sit in the courtroom and watch somebody take the charge.
For someone else.
And I thought it was going to be one of them cases where if somebody shoot up the courtroom, took the charge for something he did not do. He got the charge for killing my little cousin. But instead of him saying, no, it was this man, you're not going to do that. Now, I understand the street code. I don't agree with it, but I understand why they got that street code. So if I'm doing dirt, you doing dirt, and you snitch on me so you don't get in trouble for doing your dirt,
yes, that's
a problem.
snitching. Yeah.
But when it comes to everyday citizens, that's a problem for me. Now, I know my little cousin wasn't no saint.
My sentiments, exactly. I mean, to me, I always say, yeah, snitching. If me and you doing some dirt together and then I get caught and I'm telling something on you to get myself out of trouble, that's snitching. That's being a rat. But if I'm somewhere
let me tell you something, I'm gonna make sure your child has lunch money. I'm gonna make sure, you know, he get a gift for Christmas, for his birthday. But Chaz, you going to jail. I'm gonna make sure they good. And it's not whether it's between me and you going, Chaz, please don't do nothing illegal in front of me. I'm just saying it. I'm gonna make sure your little man, you know, got his little this little Lunchables for lunch.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna do that. I might even drop a bag of dog food around once a month. But don't do nothing in front of me. And I'm not a person that be like, oh, I'm telling. That's not even in me.
It's something you did around me that hurting somebody. Now I ain't saying if you doing all other little stuff or whatever, because I know, you know what I mean, you know, I guess, you know, ain't none of my business, man. I ain't going talking if they ain't coming to talking. But if I'm there and all of us got drink down there, baby, and I know you done shot my friend and I done seen it or whatever else like that, oh yeah, I'm solid.
That's why I don't understand, like the ones that just went on the vacation and a young lady was killed. Like, why would you then go home and lie to the family?
Yes.
How about just don't talk about it?
The whole story. Right. And then you want to clear that you wasn't there, whatever. You knew something.
Like they wasn't going to get no autopsy done and realize she had kicks and blows to her forehead and whatnot. You just going to say this girl was drunk?
And realize what was going on, what was so devious about it, to know that medical attention came out and y'all kept on refusing for the lady to go to the hospital because, again, y'all still was trying to set in that lie when y'all knew what happened, still saying that it's alcohol poisoning, letting the medical staff address it as that, but you know, things kept progressing and getting worse from her.
Yes,
and nobody,
we will eventually all go on a vacation with this Monty person. And when I say if y'all do something to somebody,
jail.
Guess who not going to jail?
Guess who ain't going to jail? Guess who my system is exactly.
I'm not going to jail. I'm telling that day. I'm telling. I'm telling that day.
Even for them people that was there, like we say, we can't say it was friends or whatever, but y'all already was lying. Like, come on, y'all knew what led to the extent of her injuries or whatever, and y'all really held on that, oh no, it's just alcohol poisoning, trying to still hold on to y'all lies so this lady can go to the hospital. For all that, y'all could have kept on lying and saying she fell. She needed to be seen. She tripped. You know, she fell or whatever else like that. But that just makes me think that they didn't want her to make it, Nate.
But even, let's back up even before police were called or whatever. How about, all right, you done punched enough. Stop.
All of that.
How about that? How about
all of that?
Meg's alleged
That's why I said the video that came out was despicable.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
The video that came out was despicable, and I think that this guy was supposed to be the best friend or saying he found like, you don't get no points for that. Initially,
that was heartbreaking hearing his mom. I think that was his mom talk about how this young man went on vacations with them.
I would have seen that, like, I would have been going off, like, stop. She don't want to fight you.
Yeah.
Come on, like what? Stop with all of that.
It's just, again, we
That
was
shit
not there, so we don't
crazy.
know what occurred because it's always a three different stories, and in that case, 7, 8 different stories. But I want us to do better with each other. If you're not my
Well,
friend, Chad, say I'm not your
no, they
friend.
wasn't.
Don't get me
Oh, they
on
definitely
vacation.
wasn't her friends because that's how I feel. Like I didn't had a whole bunch of look. I didn't had situations where I guess I had to cut people off from my life because if it gets to that point and then gets to the point where you acting like you want to fight me or bring
Hmm.
some harm to me over a dispute and we ever was supposed to have love for each other, even if it's
Yeah.
to the point now. And if anybody I'm calling a friend or considering a friend, it's giving bro, it's giving sis. You already know the vibes, Nate. So my whole thing is whatever the dispute is, if me
Hmm.
and you was to have words or whatever else like that, that should always take precedence over anything. If I had
But
love for
that
you,
that
why
shows
would I even
character
ever
in
come
those
to the
moments.
audacity to want to hurt you or come to want to fight you?
But see that
Come on.
audacity is telling. It's very telling because that's when you start learning who people are. And it was said that's probably in that moment of her not fighting back, of her like, am I like it probably was shock for her. Like, bitch, I thought we were really they probably clowned her and was teasing her and shit. But for it to get to a physical place, that who the girl that was beating her, you was never her friend.
Never.
So why would you put yourself in a situation where you on vacation
And
with
the
her?
guy that was recording all of them there was never their friend. Because that's another thing too. Like at first I would have been distraught anyway that they were having this, type of altercation. But then I also would have felt a whole nother way on another level to be
Yeah,
seeing my friend being attacked
yeah, I don't play
and
that.
her not fighting and her not, fighting back. It definitely wouldn't have been a hee laughable moment while you ain't fighting back. It
Yeah, they
definitely wouldn't
kept
have been a
saying,
moment
"Won't you
for me
fight
to whip
back?
my
Won't you
phone
do
out,
something? Do something."
for
That's
me
all
to
I
whip
kept
my
hearing the guy
phone
say.
out and record it and make these statements. Baby, no, I would have been putting my phone down if I was on my phone, strolling through my phone. My phone would have been down. What is going on? No, stop. She don't want to fight you. Like, what is going on?
But
Like, it just was a mess.
and
Want none of them
it's
their
hard not
friends.
to speculate when stuff
Want
like
none
this
of them friends.
happens. But that just feels like setup to me. Like this was
It
planned.
definitely was. It definitely was. It definitely was. There's no question about it. It definitely was. And
Now,
then,
what
then
was
to
not
lie.
probably expected was we gonna kill her. That probably wasn't an expectation,
Nope.
or she not gonna fight back, or they probably knew she
Yeah.
wasn't gonna fight back. This was a clear case of bullying going way too far,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Yes.
just you don't know. I have felt bad for Meg Thee Stallion the same way I feel bad for this young lady because I've seen people be bullied before. Working in schools, my heart is always in a space of I'm gonna always protect the person who is getting bullied. I don't care who it
Right.
is,
And
or what
adults
they've
do
done because
bully
nobody
other
deserves that.
adults. And
Yeah,
adults do bully other adults. And
yeah.
it's so unfortunate that so many people dismiss good people over lies. So a lot of times when the lies come up and that hit the
Hmm.
surface and this person don't like this person over a lie and they continue to spread that, then this
Yeah.
person don't like that person.
Hmm.
And right, they team up on them. They get this bandwagon of people, oh, I don't like her either. And it's this whole thing put out about you that you're this certain way that's completely untrue, but
And
they've been putting it
we
out so
both been there. We
much.
both know what that feel like.
That's what's
But the thing
happening.
that I've learned how to
Yes.
do is let people have their narrative. Because
Mm,
if even if you're foolish enough to join that bandwagon, you're the fool. And you
yeah.
know you're the fool. But it's more comfortable for you to be on what seems to be the winning side than the losing side. So keep that narrative going.
Mm,
Keep it going. I used to feel the need to defend myself against what
me too.
people were saying and what people were spreading about me because I'm not a person that you should hate.
Right.
Like as much love as I give to people or time I give to
Mm,
people, I'm not somebody you should hate.
Yes.
Now,
But when you
I'm gonna
embrace
tell
who
you,
you really
Shannon,
are, and
and we
you,
know these people mutually. I feel
and,
more comfortable being
yeah,
around people who I know hate me than just an average individual now, because at least I
mm,
know where they're coming from, even though it's being done sneaky in a sneaky way. I'm good with it because it's never going to change how I treat people. It's
right.
never going to change how I treat people, and I think it's not even laughable to me. It is sad to me that adults still bully people
Very sad.
or sit up and gossip or tease people. It is the saddest thing to me to witness or have done or it's sad to me. So
And
I
just like
feel
I
more
said,
sorry for you than I feel
it
angry.
is. And bullying a lot of times in this day and age amongst adults is done so like indirectly. Like people will do things to show other people that don't like you. They'll do things in a way to try to show these people that they don't like you either.
Yeah,
You know what I
because it
mean?
gotta because
And it's for
I
no
gotta shape
reason.
the narrative. I gotta keep the narrative going. And
Yeah.
I used to feel the need. And a friend of mine recently going through this, she was like, Nick, you don't have to. Why do you feel the need to clear your name? You didn't dirty it up. You
Mm.
didn't do that. So let them have their stories. Let them have their let them have it. Because that's all
Let
they
them
got.
have it. Let them have it. Because I know who I am and I know what it was and I know what I did and I
Hmm.
know what I bring. That's what I say. That's how I am now, Nate. I used to really feel some type of way, especially when you always trying to come with love or you're always being genuine in your actions or your engagements, your
Hmm.
interactions with people. And then for
Yeah.
whatever reason, people don't like you or they start hating you or not liking you, whatever. And it used to be so bothersome to me. But why they don't like me or what did I do? And I used to always be trying to clear that up or whatever. But now it is what it is because I know in all reality I didn't do anything to make them. And
A young lady told me one
even if I
time.
did, and
So I
even if
was
I did,
right.
and that's the way it came off. Like how I always say,
Hmm.
me going back to the precedence of knowing who you are and knowing that usually it's all love, because again, we live in life and things happen. And I know sometimes you may say stuff in a way or may do stuff in a way, anybody may do it that rubs you the wrong way. But if you go back to the president and say, you know what, this person is love, I know that they got love me or whatever else
Hmm.
like that, it should bring you back to that. But when you hold on to it and you make something out of nothing,
Yeah.
essentially, like people will do that. It'll be
Hmm.
something so small and people will make it this big old thing and make it like your intention
Hmm.
was to be something bad of when really they supposed to know you. They know you would never. Even if that was the impression that it gave,
But it's
it,
easier for them to see that in you or
yes,
create that
then the good
narrative
stuff.
about you
I
than it is for
always
them
say
to just
that.
turn it
In
on
my
themselves.
language, what's your name? How I try to do is when I'm around people, like it's always so difficult for us to do like positives and stuff about each other. We can
Hmm.
always come out with something that we don't like about an individual. But
Hmm.
I've seen in a lot of things what they call them in icebreakers and stuff like that. Even with the families or being an intimate center with the family, say, okay, on Thanksgiving, let all of us say something that we're thankful for.
Or they be burned up by
How
people like
hard
you.
it
Or
is,
they be
how
mad.
hard it is.
That make the devil
Or
mad when you
we
come
can
out like that.
what do you like? Yes. What do you like about this person or love about this person?
Don't invite
Baby,
Chaz
we
and her positive
struggle.
ass self.
We
Don't invite her,
struggle.
girl. I ain't got time for that this year.
We struggle to get that off our tongues. But ask somebody what you
She
don't like
bringing that
about Chad.
workforce
Right.
development shit in here. We don't need that in here.
Ask somebody what you don't like about me or what you don't like about Chastity. Oh, they come off real thick. Oh, and then and this stuff they should love you
Mhm.
for.
I do that. I do that now when I see like somebody I know or I may be in a place and I'm like, damn, can you say something good about them? Like, is there anything good that you like about them? No. Oh, well, that's a problem because you should be able to see
Yes.
something good in them. They done did
And
something good
it's sad
around
to
you.
act like that, especially when we have like falling outs and stuff like that for people.
Oh, that
Even
makes
if
it easier.
I'm
When we
with
have a
people.
fallout, that makes it easier.
Yes, and
That
I
makes it
understand
easier.
that. Like it's a lot of people that ain't for me no more. And I get that don't be for me. But even though me knowing you not for me, I'm not against you.
But it's
I'm not your
but you know
enemy.
I've learned it's the
Why
people
do we
who
focus
smile
on
in your
saying
face.
these negatives about people?
Mhm.
And why? What is that helping? Why? You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Even if a person is not for me, I'm not for people too, but I'm not against you. I
Yeah.
don't make it my business to speak death on your name. Like people don't even understand how much power the tongue holds or whatever else like that. People always joke,
Yeah.
yeah, I had this saying when I'm around people and people get to try and talk to somebody, I always say, don't play with them. Don't with them. That's kind of my way to telling you, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that. Whatever it is, or I try to laugh it off, or you know what I mean, or whatever.
Mhm.
But you know, in reality, people that we around or whatever, we all going to talk about. We all going to talk about people. We had that twisted too. Like when people talk about you not in your presence, people always look at it, and that's always shunned too.
But
Is that you
that
sitting
showed me
around
not to
talking
do
about
it.
somebody,
That helped me not to do it anymore because I would
right?
feed into it and just add into it. But it's helped me never to do that anymore. And because I would often tell people when I would find out information that's been shared or talked about me, and I would let them know. I said the same people you sit up and talk to me about, as they
They
sit up and
was talking
talk to
about
me about
you.
you. So
Yes,
just
they was talking
know.
about you.
But
They
that's
was
that's
talking about
often the
you.
reason people do it too, because they gotta get the most dirt out. They gotta
And my
pile
thing
the
is,
stats up the most.
I don't mind being talked about because I know that you're gonna be talked about. But just like I say, it's just amazing and puzzling to me is that while we struggle to talk about the positives or the good of that person, a lot
Right.
of times when people think when you're talking about them out of their presence, because I talk about people outside of their presence. But
Mm-hmm.
I try to speak life on that person. If I ever speak on you when you're not in my presence, it's
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily anything negative. It's
Mm-hmm.
me speaking life into something. Oh, yeah, that person or whatever, it's
Right.
great. Even if it is a negative, I guess, thought or, you know, some type of feeling I have
Mm-hmm.
about you, I tend to not even share that now because I'm thinking, like, what
Because it's a
is that?
reflection of you.
Yes, like, what is that going to help? Even some of the people that have done me completely wrong, and people know that too, because you know, for a good gossip, people will come that way too and try to initiate conversations. They already know what it is, but they'll kind of try
What
to
you
bring
think
up that
about
person's
Chaz?
name.
What you
Yeah,
think
be
about
like, oh, they
Chaz?
not
That's how they
right.
open it up.
Yeah, or they not right or whatever. And I'll be like, well, you know, that is what it
That
is. That's
girl
another
Chaz,
story.
she is something else, ain't she? No, don't.
Yes.
They trying to get you to piggyback on the dumb shit.
Yes, like yes.
Mm-mm.
And look, and then you come back and bust them and say, "Yeah, it's something great." And she, I
Yeah.
love her. Something great, I love her. And gag her, but they weren't expecting that. Oh yeah, they is doing great things or whatever. Oh yeah, I
Right.
ain't know. Chill.
That girl, ain't she something? Yes,
Yeah,
she is, girl. She is something else.
I know I'm something.
She
So
is
I
something else.
appreciate it. That's what I say. People, you know, the way
Mm-hmm.
you love and the way you going about trying to exuberate and influence the love or whatever in the world and amongst people, people gonna hate you for it.
No.
People gonna hate
No.
you for it. And the realest people are always categorized as phony or whatever. I was like that, I swear to goodness. And it be the phoniest of people that's labeling them that. I'm trying to tell you. Real recognize real, but
Um,
real can see fake too. And it's just crazy to me, like how the phoniest of people, how people really
yeah.
take to what these people is saying. The phoniest of people, you will know they the phoniest of people.
Mm-hmm.
And they can label somebody else phony.
Yeah, that's why I said it makes me laugh now. I don't
It's
even
wrong with
it's
it.
still, I mean, I'm human, so things do, I'm affected by stuff, but I don't let things get to me the way I used to. Like, I'm not
Right.
even a
It's
sensitive
don't.
person, but I would let stuff get to me because I'm a go offer. I was raised by some go off broads, and I
Okay,
know how
I'm
to
going to
go
address
off.
it. I'm
But
gonna address it.
it don't, for me, it never worked because I don't know how to stay angry. So
Mm.
the moment I
And
take a
you gonna
deep
be
breath
mad
and
at you
let it
about
out,
your
I'm not
kids.
mad anymore.
People will be mad about that too. You phony too. If you're able and you got into that space where you're able to let things go. People don't want you to let things go. People say don't hold no grudge, baby. But if you don't hold no grudge, then you phony. They act like
Now,
you can't be mad at the person or have a dispute with a person and then y'all still be good the next day. Oh, why don't you just get mad at them? Yeah, and we let it go. We living life okay. How many times does that happen? Or somebody say, "Oh yeah, well you said this. You know, you might have made a joke about somebody. Oh yeah, they paid them. Oh yeah, the right person that you say is boo. Oh, okay, yeah, it's a joke. That's my good friend. Like, what's going on? Like that's what I'm saying. People
yeah.
will make things more than it is, and they
But
know it
that's the
definitely
cell
was
nation
nothing.
now. That's why I don't get into comment sections anymore.
Mm,
I don't. Every now and again, I'll have the urge. Like I commented on somebody's post on the Meg Thee Stallion, and because there's certain things that just you blatantly are getting this wrong just to have something to say,
uh,
just so you are part of the pick me culture, and it
mm,
just it's almost abusive to me. Like it's abusive
mm.
for you to put this out
But
there
it's
because
never a pick
public
me up.
opinion
It's always
matters.
a put me down. It's never a
Right,
pick me up type of culture that we
right,
embrace. It's always a put down type
yeah.
of culture. And if it ain't putting it down, then it ain't,
Well,
just
see,
even
that's
as
why
far as
I
our
added the TJ
mm,
Holmes. I added that story today because if social media wasn't buzzing so much about it, they would have still had their job. They would have still been reporting the news right now every morning, and it wouldn't
right.
have gotten to that point. But public opinion has gotten to the point where it controls
Yes.
the narrative or
Everybody
the
wants to see
outcome for an
something that's
individual.
messy. Everybody wants to see something that's messy. Or that's trashy. We will never
A train
empathize with
wreck.
it. Even with it, like with the reality shows, people be all into it when it's something, I guess, negative happening, when they amongst each other fighting and fussing and feuding. But when it comes to stuff that when we see these powerful moments where people are apologizing, having
Mhm.
conversations or whatever else like that, we don't want to see that.
Now,
Man, that
now, what we gonna
that
talk the
doesn't
next time we
spark
do
no
this?
interest.
Or your show next week, I definitely want to talk to you about the Louis Scrappy and Mama D situation.
Oh, yeah, we definitely can talk
Yeah.
about it. And next week, oh my goodness, the year is looking good, Nay. I know we're ready to end this up. We're gonna have to use my phone one day. It went down. You can see my little light a little bit. I done zoomed it back up or whatever. But things is looking up. I got some gosh, yes. So next week on the show, I have a lady where that's our whole spiel too about positivity or whatever. I'll say that I'll be announcing that.
Okay.
Once I get more information and then as the years come up. But you already know we're gonna talk about it, baby. It's
So
our
tell people where
news,
they can
our
find
views,
you
and I'm
when the
glad to
show
be an
comes
artist
on.
and been able to come in and exchange this information with you tonight, Lee.
This
Yes,
was a
I'm live for it.
collaboration. It was a collaboration.
Yes, you better
That's
live.
why I got both our informations down there. So You Better Live comes on Thursdays at 7 p.m. on
Yes.
BigExposedRadio.com or BigExposedMedia.com as well. And tell us like the basis of the show, like what you talk to. You kind of gave us a hint of what the title means, but what should people expect?
Right. Well, on my platform, it's just how we say we're talking about energy. It's just to keep on trying to keep that positive energy, to try to
Mhm.
highlight some people right here in our hometown in Baltimore who are doing some extraordinary things that I feel never really gets that recognition that it should be recognized. And also just reminding people that everybody is going through what we're getting through. I try to bring people on who can be inspirations, who have their own businesses, who have a story to tell. I like to bring
Mhm.
people on who are coming on to communicate, to compliment, to comprehend, and to relate to one
Mhm.
another and be able to, that's my whole basis. I feel like God put it on my heart to just be that entity of a person and just say, you know what, you better live. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Life, we know what it is, we know what it gives, but it's more to life than dying. So yeah, you better live. So
Right.
everything that I bring on my platform is just basically about you, trying to tell people to do you, to do better, and to live. That's what it's all about. And
Mhm.
anything that I can bring through that avenue that promotes that, that's what I'm about. That's what I'm about. So, of course, we talk about topics, breaking news, things that's going on, a couple of things like how we discuss here tonight, just to be informed, to be able to
Right.
have that open conversation, and talk about things that are either directly or indirectly affecting us. Because in what other way or another, if it's in our lives, whatever stream it comes through,
Right.
does affect us. It does affect us. And I think a lot of times we don't get to discuss it in a way to be able to tell our point of view and be honest or whatever.
Hmm.
Because people always want to stay in this one realm of things, and everybody usually go with what the masses think. So I think that it's important to have different, train of thoughts and be able to talk and discuss it and be able to have a dispute and disagree with
Hmm.
each other and everything else like that. Yeah. So
Right.
yeah, that's my whole push, is to push people that you better live, and anything that I can do to influence that is definitely, definitely, definitely what God has put on my heart to do.
Thursdays at 7 p.m. on Big
Thursdays
Cold
at
Radio.
7. Thursdays at 7. We get to it, honey. We
And
talk
the
about it.
people
Come
that are
through.
watching is a part of my mission to just give those platforms for people to be able to share who they are
Yeah,
and tell their story. I'm big on engagement, like connecting with people
yeah.
instead of just, throwing your cash app out there or,
All of that.
and it you have to do more than just take the harvest. You have to
Yeah,
replant those seeds every time you reap the benefits of a harvest, and that's something that has not been happening, and we need to start doing. So as you take, you have to then replace.
that's right.
So people coming up behind you can also reap those same benefits, but a lot of us aren't in that community driven type of concepts. But there were a lot of things that I wanted to talk about today. Dr. Umar is talking about the school is almost finished in Wilmington, Delaware.
Yeah,
Definitely the little Scrappy versus Mama D.
but
Not
that's
understanding
okay.
how
If we
his
get
life
to
was
it
affected.
next
Hmm.
week on my show, we will get to it on yours. It definitely was a
I'll
budget.
come through if
Look,
you just want somebody to do
things
hot
is
topics with.
happening.
Call
Yeah,
me.
things is happening. Things is happening. So, baby, we got a lot to talk about.
A lot to talk about.
That's the start of talking about it, Nate.
So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you
Yes,
to everybody who's going to watch this on their own time. It'll be up. I'm gonna share it with Chaz. I think I already shared the YouTube with you. So check it out. Tell us what you feel. Both of our information is on the bottom. I'm the Artist Exchange every Friday at 7 p.m. And Chaz is
it's the,
You
you
Better
better
Live every
listen.
Thursday at 7
Your girl
p.m.
Chaz Thrill, the Empress Lady Cake Mix, yes, Chastity,
I
Chaz.
didn't know
That'll
what
be
names
me.
to put up there. I
That's
just put the
all
one
right.
I
I'm
saw
Chaz.
the
That's
most.
why. I'm all at my government Chastity Dorsey. People know who I am, and if they don't know, now they know.
Yeah, and they know. So go
Now
through
they know.
our pages. We both have Facebook pages under our show names, and you can find more. You can go to the Big Exposed Radio YouTube page and find past shows for both of us. And Chaz is building up her shows. She's building
Yes.
them up. It's been a few months now.
Yes, I'm gonna
She's
keep
doing
at
her
it.
thing.
I'm gonna keep at it. I am
Keep
going
at
to keep
it.
at it.
Don't let it go, no matter what, and keep
Yeah.
building on it and keep
And
finding
I got
ways
that
to connect.
inspiration from you, the artist just saying who has been
Mhm.
doing it for some quite a time. So yes,
Dang.
thank
I
you for
feel
that
like
encouragement.
I
Thank you
feel
for
old.
always giving me the support and a love. And it was a pleasure
Mhm.
tonight, Nate.
Anytime. We're gonna do it
Talk
more.
to
We're
you
gonna do
next
it more.
time.
We're gonna do it more. So peace out, everybody. Enjoy your night
See
because it's
ya.
damn near midnight. Enjoy your
Yes.
holiday. If I don't see everybody, Happy New Year if I don't see you. And just treat each other better. Treat each
Yes.
other better
Please.
and just be there for each other. I'm gonna put that hotline number up. If you're feeling stressed and you don't have anybody to turn to, call it's a crisis and suicide helpline. It's not just for people who are trying to commit suicide, but it's in line with counselors, trained counselors, people who are really good at listening and helping you guide you through what's going on with you. So give them a call. They can connect you with a lot of resources in your city. It's a national line, but they have a lot of resources locally as well. And if you don't want to call that, you can definitely call 311. And 311 also has is it 311 or 411? 311. So peace out, everybody. Good night. Sleep tight and enjoy your weekend.